Can you hear me now? My mic is making mic noises.
I can hear you.
Hello. Yeah, my mic's doing stuff. So tell me if you can hear me, because it looks like it's good on my end. Can you guys hear me now? I swear to God, I've done so many streams, and this happens every time. So let me know.
I hear a delay, Gory.
Yeah, there's a delay. It's like a 30-second delay. So
Yeah, okay.
So everyone can hear me? Let me know. Do eggplant emojis if you can hear me. Alright, so here we are. It's Ghouls Night Out, where I talk about women in horror with women of horror in the community. My guest tonight is Annie. We are continuing our conversation from last week about trans women of horror, because even though we had a lot of fun last week, we got through like half a movie. So I think we learned, you know, maybe not drink so much, because then we don't get anything done. So Edward 40 can's probably not the best idea.
Yeah, probably not.
But fun was had, and today we're going to be super serious with soda. Soda, children.
Soda, yeah, that's right, soda.
I love how my chat automatically treats the eggplants like they're swear words.
What?
Yeah, they got dinged. Who do we have in the chat tonight? Help me out here, Annie. It looks like I see Brandon Meacham, Dino from the Lately Horror Show, Queenie Todd, yep. Laura's Looney Bin, Patrick Holmes, Joseph Neva, Ben Grimm, Suburban Cowboy, Tony, Laura's Looney Bin, Mr. Meathook. We got a full house tonight.
I thought it was, for the longest time, I thought it was Lisa's, because I'm dyslexic, so every time I saw it, I would see Lisa's Looney Bin for some bizarre reason.
There's a Tony Laws. My son is Laws Tony. My son is also named Laws, and he's 14. And the Trash Picture Show.
There he is, yeah.
So we've got a full house. We have a lot to talk about. We're so organized this week. We have an outline, don't we, Annie?
Yeah.
We do.
Somewhere. Here it is.
Yeah, I see that Ron Bowers, Suburban Cowboys here. So awesome. Oh. Marty's here. We got a lot of cool people in the house. Lots of awesome people. And we're going to talk about something that I'm really surprised, because, you know, when we agreed that I've talked about a lot of stuff on Women of Horror Night, on Ghouls Night Out, and this is one that's been a little more controversial with people. But, you know, we're going to have an open mind. Hopefully you guys are going to have an open mind. You're not going to agree with everything everyone says, but it's okay. That's what a discussion is, people. Right, Annie?
Yep. Sure, whatever you say.
Somebody watched Clownado.
What? I need to watch Clownado.
Well, I think Mr. Meathook didn't he like sponsor? I think I saw that on Instagram.
Why would you ever do that? Dude, Clownado, huh?
See, Annie, you know, maybe you don't understand Clownado, but Clownado makes him happy.
Okay, I'm glad Clownado makes...
Alright, so we've got a lot to cover, girls, so
yeah.
Let's get started. So, looking at our outline, the very first thing is pretty easy. So what we're going to do is today we have a list of movies. You're going to find them in the description below. Also, I highly encourage you throughout the night, you know, check out Annie's channel. It is linked in the card above. But the list of movies is in the description. And for each of these movies, we're going to do three things. Three things, right, Annie?
That's right.
These three things. We're going to say, A, whether or not the character we're discussing is even transgender. So many of these, because we got this topic idea because there's a lot of articles in like Bloody Disgusting and such, and a lot of the movies they're talking about, I don't even necessarily know if I would consider the characters to be trans. Maybe Annie does. Maybe you guys do. Let's discuss it.
Yes.
So first we're going to say whether we individually and whether you guys in the chat think that this character is indeed trans. 2, we're going to talk about the effect this character has on the community. Is it a positive effect? Is it a negative effect? Does it just not even really affect anything? Is it just a dumb movie? You know?
Yeah.
Is it the most important movie in the world? I don't know. We're going to talk about it. Hey, I see my girl Ariel's here. Yeah, we're going to be talking about Sleepaway Camp, Marty, so stay tuned. It is on the list. Check that description. And finally... we're going to just say whether or not we like this movie, because sometimes you can recognize that a movie isn't perfect, that maybe a movie is a little dated, maybe there's some parts of this that could be, you know, maybe haven't aged as well, but it doesn't mean that we can't, you know, enjoy the movie. Sometimes we do, and sometimes a movie is good or well-intentioned, but it still sucks.
That's
so
true.
These are the 3 things we are checking out tonight with each of these movies. And now, as you can see, the movie we're discussing is going to be up here near kind of my face and Annie's face. First, we're going to start with Psycho.
Well, finally we can start because Dave Maggot's in the house. And, you can't...
My God.
You
Dave
you can't...
motherfucking Maggot.
Guy knows a lot of songs.
Dave Maggot just, he lives for making me look bad. He just lives for making me look like I don't know my shit. And then I go to bed, and I sleep on my giant freaking pillow, and I cry myself to sleep, all because I'm not as cool as Dave. But, it's just one of those things, I love him, but I'm also kind of angry that I'm not him.
I know. A lot of people are. All right,
yeah,
so
check out
start.
Annie's weekly Guess That Horror Tune, because Dave Maggot kills at that. But let's talk about... First, I think the first thing we should do, because we're going to be discussing it with each of these movies, is how do we define what is transgender?
Okay. Who wants to go first? You want to go first? Gory, tell me what you think.
You know what? You are kind of the expert in this area, so why don't you go first?
Me? Why? Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
All right. So what's transgender? I mean, it's such a broad scope, right? So I gotta say,
it's a broad
anybody...
scope, and we're talking about trans women. What was that a pun? Sorry.
Yeah, that's fun.
I'm here all week, guys.
I guess any person that feels they are the opposite gender to what they were born with, like that they are meant to be another gender, and hence goes through with changing, or sometimes they don't. Sometimes trans people they don't go through transition. That's up to them. That's up to whatever the person wants to. But feeling like you are trapped and or not the gender you were assigned at birth is what I would say a transgender person is.
I agree with that. My definition is very similar. I believe that a transgender person is somebody who makes a decision to have their outside reflect their inside. So if you feel like you are a woman in a man's body, you make your outside, how you feel you are. And vice versa if you feel like you are a man trapped in a woman's body. You don't necessarily have to have surgery or anything. You have just made a decision that you are going to be who you are on the outside of your body.
Yes.
Hopefully I explained that well. And I think for me, making that decision is kind of vital in whether or not I determine a lot of these characters to be trans or not. Oh, great, we got CP in the house. So let the trolling begin, CP.
Who's that?
CP is my friend who's a comedian who he just likes to heckle me. But I'm ready.
Well, who doesn't like to heckle you?
Hey, Zachary Haith is here. Oh, behave, CP. Yeah, Zachary knows what's up. So, let's start with Psycho, the very first question, because we're going to tackle all 3 to remind you guys of the 3 things. Oh, Doc the Metal Freak. I keep getting distracted by the chat. To remind you guys of the 3 things we're tackling with each of these movies is A, is the character transgender? B, what effect does this character have on the community, good or bad? And 3, do we like the movie? So first, is Norman Bates the character that, because this is, I read a lot of these articles that have been really popular lately in like Bloody Disgusting and iHorror, and they always mention Psycho. Always. And I find this really interesting because to me, Norman Bates is not a transgender character. Am I wrong?
No, I don't think you're wrong at all. I think Norman Bates just has multiple personality disorder. I don't think he's transgender at all. I think one of the identities just happens to be his mother.
Yes.
Norma.
Basically, Norman Bates is broken down into... he has DID, which, more recently you might have seen in the movie Glass or Split. It's when you have multiple people living in your head. They are separate people. So just like in the movie Split... he has a female identity. That doesn't make him trans. That just means he has a lot of people sharing one body within him. So Norman is the same way. He has 3 personalities. He has the personality, this is more, the child personality that he has is a little more explained in the book by Robert Bloch. But yeah, he has 3 personalities. The child version of Norman, the adult Norman, and Norman's mother. So when his mother, Alter, takes over his body, she dresses how she normally dresses in little old lady clothes. Whoa, where did Annie go? Uh-oh. We have lost Annie. Uh-oh. Oh, Skype crashed. Don't scare me like that. I thought I broke something. Okay. Annie! Okay, so she's gonna call me back when she gets back. Give her 3 seconds. Okay, I'm just gonna talk to myself. Ariel, her Skype crashed. How you guys doing in the chat? We're gonna have a brief pause on that conversation while she gets her tech together. Yeah, so I'm reading the chat. What do you guys think? Do you think Norman Bates is a transgender character? I think, like Annie said, that he has DID. His mother is a woman. She was born a woman. She lives her life as a woman. She's completely fine being a woman. Therefore, Norman Bates is not a trans character. So that's my thought. Do any of you guys disagree with that? All right, so yeah, Suburban Cowboy, yeah, we're on the same page. Oh, the Harmiser Monty G is here. It's unfriended, Tony. Yeah. And Queenie says the same thing. So, absolutely, I'm really surprised that Norman Bates keeps getting brought up in all of these articles. I know, this movie came out in 1960. It was a different time then. Seeing a man in old lady clothes was probably strange. And I don't think DID was very well understood at the time. But, yeah, that's something I think that just needs to have a kibosh put on it. Because Norman Bates, he is a person who has been abused. He was horribly abused by his mother. His mother, if you've seen the movies, especially I think part 4, maybe it's part 4, where they go into like their past or you read the book, she was a very abusive person. And that caused a split in his psyche, which led to him having multiple personalities, including that of mother, who continues to now berate him through this altar, even after death. So, yeah, it doesn't really change who Norman is, though. This is more about mental illness than Norman making a decision, that he isn't male. So, and I'm still waiting for Annie to get back, so I feel like I'm just kind of like treading water here. Yeah. Yeah, Bates Motel's pretty good. And the ending is really shocking. It is a really shocking ending. It's also really shocking that we followed Janet Leigh's character for so long and then she's killed. I think that was a big shock for a lot of people. But yeah, so I kind of want to move on, but Annie's not back here yet. That one, for me, is pretty cut and dry. And yeah, whether or not it represents DID or mental illness accurately, that's a whole other thing for another stream. We gotta do maybe a mental illness stream one of these days. But, Annie, where are you? Annie, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay, Annie? Annie, are you okay? You okay? You okay, Annie? You've been hit by, you've been struck by a smooth criminal. I am so sorry for all of you that are here. Skype locked your account? You're killing me here, Annie. You're killing me. Okay, hold on a second. I'm gonna do a thing. Okay, hold on. Gonna make a group. Why are technical difficulties happening? It's just not fair, is what it is. Okay, so, Annie. I'm gonna have to send her this link really quick. I am really sorry, guys. Technical difficulties suck. Actually, because we have a lot to talk about today. A lot to talk about. As you can see, we have a lot in our lineup. Annie. Okay. Annie. I'm so sorry, guys. Okay, so Annie, if you're watching, I sent you a link to our chat in Skype. I guess we could also do like a Hangouts or something. I wasn't really quite prepared for that, though. Thanks. Annie, come on! Ooh, I think I have an idea. I think I have an idea. Oh, yes, I am. I'm having an idea. What? Yeah, I think I'm having an idea. This is gonna work. This is gonna work. Annie! Okay, come on, Annie. Annie, are you there? Or are you on your phone? Here, I'll just call you on Skype. I'm so sorry, guys. We're getting this back on track.
All right, I'm sorry about that, Gory.
You left me! You left me just treading water!
Yeah, no, Skype keeps shutting down. I had to verify my account.
Oh, nuts.
I had to have them.
But you're all set now, right?
Yeah, unless Skype decides to fuck me in the ass again.
Okay, if it happens again, I'll just call you on Facebook chat.
Yeah, okay.
Anyway,
right.
so this is what you missed while you were gone, just to catch you up, because we have a lot to get through.
Yeah,
so,
sorry. It was a nightmare.
I think we both said that we did not consider Norman Bates to be trans. He has DID.
No, we don't.
He has DID as the result of abuse from his mother, but he is not trans. He just happens to have an alter that is his mother.
Yep.
So this leads us into, do we consider, how do we consider this movie to affect like the LGBT community or the trans community?
It does. It has no real place in the discussion. Hey, Michael, it doesn't. It's about a guy with multiple persons. I mean, that's like saying, so should we include Split because that character has?
Yeah.
So I just feel like it needs to go away from.
I agree. I think the only thing maybe bad in it is that people keep using it in articles. So what's frustrating here is not the movie, it's people, and I hate to say it because they're from a lot of horror sites I really like, but they keep making these articles and they keep bringing up Psycho, and Psycho does not belong in the conversation.
No, it doesn't. At best, maybe he's gender fluid or gender queer, maybe, but he has no cognizant idea of what he's doing, so therefore he can't make the choice to go through with a transition or not.
I would argue that he's not even gender fluid or anything, because I mean.
Oh, I don't think so. But I was just saying that.
At least as far as the first movie goes, I don't think there's anything there, and no. I just think it needs to just not be a part of the conversation.
I mean, it gets weird in that semi HBO TV movie.
Yes.
Where his mom used to make him squat and pee like a good girl and stuff like that, and that was weird. But even then, that's not on him.
And absolutely, a part of this that is to be considered is Psycho. Norman Bates' character is based loosely on Ed Gein, the real-life serial killer who was also tormented by his mother. Like, she messed him up. So, we see that abuse there, and, Ed Gein was trying to, make a lady suit and stuff, which we're going to come into a little bit more when we talk about Silence of the Lambs. But I think let's move on from Psycho. Let's finish up by saying whether or not we like the movie. Do you like Psycho?
Who doesn't like Psycho? I envy people that get to see Psycho for the first time without knowing the twist.
I feel like I was born, they handed me my birth certificate, and they said, by the way, this is the end of Psycho. And I was like, fuck y'all.
My girlfriend, Mr. Snurgley, she's the best over there. She's just said she's never seen Psycho, so I have a feeling I have to show her that.
You've got stuff to do this weekend. You got big plans. Gonna watch Psycho. So
yeah, it's fantastic.
We have covered, and you guys in the chat, do you like Psycho? Do you disagree with us? And feel free to disagree. That's what our discussion is. So I love the movie Psycho. I think it's fantastic.
It's great.
One of the best experiences I had in college is I took a film class, and we got to go through Psycho like shot by shot. It's a fantastic film, and yeah, if you haven't seen it, you need to see it.
Most certainly.
All right, we're just moving right along. So you know what we're going to talk about next? It feels so productive.
Homicidal,
we've already accomplished more in like 15 minutes.
Last stream? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh wow. So now we're going to talk about Homicidal. Now Homicidal was a new watch for me. It's one that Annie requested that I watch for this stream. Yeah. I watched it yesterday for the first time. I am a big William Castle fan, so I was excited to do that. William Castle was kind of the Walt Disney of horror. He needs to show the movie Matinee is loosely based on him. He would make the movie an event. So like in House on Haunted Hill, a skeleton would breeze through the audience. In The Tingler, the seats were they would give you an electric shock. And in Homicidal, there's a fright break where if you don't want to see the terrifying conclusion, you can go and sit in the chicken section.
And Mr. Sardonicus, there's that rumor you could choose the ending. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which door was the second end?
William Castle has admitted this is his blatant ripoff of Psycho. It came out in hold on just a second.
61.
61. So a year after Psycho came out.
Yep.
And it stars Jean Arliss, and I feel really bad if you haven't seen this because we're about ready to spoiler up in here. How many of you guys have seen Homicidal for starters?
There's probably like 4 people.
I feel really bad because we're about ready to just spoiler all over you. Just spoilers everywhere. So, Annie, this movie stars, it's a little confusing, the plot. But we're introduced.
It makes no sense.
We're introduced to a beautiful blonde woman who pays a guy a lot of money to marry her, and then she kills the justice of the peace. Yeah. Pretty brutally, I might add.
Yeah.
Then we. Do you want to continue with the next part?
No, you do it, please.
Go ahead.
It's fresher for you. No. It's good for you. You're doing good.
So we find out that her name is Emily, and she is the live-in nurse of a woman named Helga who's in a wheelchair. Helga raised 2 half-siblings, Marion, which is just ripping the name directly from Psycho, and Warren. And Warren, they were very big on because his father had kind of started it, you need to be a man, you need to, play with boy toys, and you need to be masculine, and no crying, and no acting like a girl. And, it was pretty hard on Warren. He had a very unpleasant childhood. He's pretty scarred from it. And we also find out that their father has a large inheritance that they're both due for.
Yep.
And I guess we're just gonna have to spoil it. So you want to tell them the big ending?
No, you do. You're good.
Okay. So the big ending is Emily is Warren, and the coolest part about this is the actress Jean Arliss plays both characters, and she does such a good job.
She does, doesn't she? She does a really good job.
The makeup is fantastic, and she does such a great job. Like. You don't, unless you know the ending, you wouldn't doubt for a second that Warren is a separate character from Emily and that he's male.
Yeah.
So really, really impressive. But we find out that Warren was actually born female. And the father had a clause in his will that the money would go to his firstborn son. So Helga, trying to get the money for Warren, she puts Warren down as male when he's born on his birth certificate. And then when he's about puberty age, they're gone. They go to Denmark, which a little factoid here is back in the early 60s, that was the only place you could get gender reassignment surgery. Huh. And then they come back, and so he has had gender reassignment surgery and is now male. But clearly this would fuck you up. Can you imagine all of this happening to you at such a young age? And you're told to be a man and stuff, and yet we see that scene very early on in the movie where Warren steals Marion's doll. And you know it's because Warren doesn't identify as a male. No. You know, this is still Emily. Yeah. She's just a little girl, and she's confused, and she's being put through a lot of abuse, and she just wants to play with the goddamn doll. In fact, the look she has as Emily looks a lot like the doll. Yeah.
Yeah, I love this movie. I think it's a good movie. And I really thought it was worth just briefly talking about it. I thought it was, I think it's. I mean, for a William Castle movie, I think it's pretty good.
For William Castle's a fucking genius. I even like his son's movies because his son remade a lot of his movies.
Oh, his movies are great, but I mean,
they're schlock. They're schlock.
Yeah, they're not regarded as. I mean, maybe House on Haunted Hill, but they're not regarded as masterpieces.
I agree, which is unfortunate because like the Tingler, just some of the stuff they do with cinematography is really impressive. It's great. But I guess
Castle's amazing.
The big question here is Warren. Is Warren transgender?
In a way, because they're gender trapped. They're trapped in their body of the wrong gender. So therefore, I would say yes, but only by some kind of horrible fucking turn of events.
See, it's very. This is a really complicated one because I would say. You know, like we said before, being transgender means you make your outside reflect who you are on the inside. Now, Warren was born female through abuse. Let's call, cause she never had a female name, but let's say Emily was who she was born as. Right. So for the purpose of this conversation, let's just say her name was Emily. Okay. Emily was born. They decided to name her Warren, give her gender reassignment surgery, and make her live as a male under a ton of abuse. Yeah. So she is, in my opinion, absolutely not a trans male. She never made the decision for that to happen. No. She identified as a female. That was done to her to get money, which is just sick. Yeah. Now
it's a weird situation because technically she's a female, but she's also a trans female because she's a female stuck in essentially a male's body.
That's where it gets complicated. So Warren grows up.
But we're going to get into that in the next movie, actually, as a matter of fact.
Well, let's finish up with this one first. But that's where it gets complicated because Warren grows up being called Warren, living as Warren. He has had gender reassignment surgery, none of which was his choice. In his heart, though, he's still Emily. He still sees himself as Emily. And then he kind of has a psychotic break, and becomes very homicidal, you know, and begins dressing like a woman, which, by the way, Gina Arliss is hot. Definitely made a hotter woman than she did a man, but she didn't look bad as a man. But so I think at that point, it's really complicated with this one. But at that point, I think Warren does become a trans female because biologically he has been.
But they were female. It's just a weird situation,
So in a sense, Warren Emily is transgender. This character doesn't have the ID. This character's just really been abused horribly, and I guess. It's really complicated.
Yeah, it's not easy.
So let's kind of segue into how does this affect the trans community?
I don't think it does because no one freaking knows what the hell this movie is. I mean, maybe if more people saw it, you could have something to talk about. But no one's seen this movie. No one talks. It's down there with Mr. Sardonicus as movies that were made that no one really remembers. I think it's worth a conversation. I think it's worth talking about, clearly, but I don't think in particular has any impact because it was never important enough to get people talking. At the time, maybe William Castle was like, hey, maybe this was going to shock some people and we'll start a dialogue.
Oh, it's absolutely done for shock value.
Yeah, that's all it was. So for the time, I don't think it did anything good, and it just got lost over time. So, I think it's inconsequential.
I see a few different aspects of this. On the one hand, it is, metaphorically, it does kind of, I think, make people understand what it feels like to be trans. Because we see what this person went through for abuse. Now, minus the abuse, I would imagine that's what it feels like to be trans. As this character is Emily. Emily just wants to be a little girl and play with dolls, and everyone in her life is saying, you can't do that. That is not allowed. You have to be this. That is what I imagine it feels like to be trans. And then finally, Emily fucking breaks and is like, no, this is who I am. Deal with it or I'm going to kill you.
Yeah.
So, there's that. Which, in a fucked up way, without intending to, it actually did do something that I think hopefully will make the audience understand something maybe they didn't before. However, it gets into some very dicey territory. It gets dicey because in a lot of horror movies, trans characters are also mentally ill. Now, this character we've established is trans. She's also very mentally ill. She is crazy. She's going to kill her half-sister. She's going to, she wants the money now, too. She's mentally broken. And I think there is a negative stigma that being trans is also a mental illness, which it isn't. And movies like this kind of perpetuate that belief. Yeah,
I agree. Like I said, I don't think it particularly did. I mean, because in 1961, oh look, that your stalker Danny's in the chat. No, look at that guy.
He's so sexy. I also see C4 is here, and one of our newest members of the horror family, Meharit, please tell me if I'm pronouncing that wrong, is here in the chat. So I'm really happy that you're here to join us.
But going back, I don't think in 61 people were talking about this. It wasn't clearly an issue like it is now. Or a hot button issue, anyway.
Absolutely.
So, I don't know. I don't like the intention that William Castle had with the movie. I don't think it did any harm. I don't think it did any good. I do think it's worth thinking about and watching and maybe talking about, like we're doing right now.
And, like I said, at the time, in the early 60s, I don't think most people were aware that being transgender was actually something that people chose to do. Like I said, you could only do it in Denmark. And I think a lot of people missed that in the movie, that's why they went to Denmark. That was the only place in the world you could get this operation done. I think people were aware of what transvestites were. They knew that there was men, who like to dress up in women's clothes, but I don't think the populace as a whole was really familiar with this concept. And so, obviously the times were different and they got away with it. I think the intentions were all wrong. But segueing into the last part of this, I do enjoy the movie.
Movie's good. It's worth watch.
I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying, but what I guess I'm trying to say here is we can recognize that maybe a movie hasn't aged well in some aspects.
Yeah.
And still enjoy it. That's what movies are for, just for us to talk about. And this one is still enjoyable, even if it's got some dicey stuff in it. But I also think it's got some good stuff in there too that gets neglected.
I think the acting's amazing.
God, Gene Arliss is just amazing.
Yeah. And of course, it's directed well because it's William fucking Castle. So it's like the guy knew how to make an effective horror movie, except for Mr. Sardonicus. That movie just terrible.
C4 wishes we were playing Edward 40 Hands again. Maybe, but I think the next time we play Edward 40 Hands, we're just gonna do it with regular beer, just regular beer bottles, because that is a lot of fluid.
Let's next time we do Edward 40 Hands, let's talk about something like Sharks vs. Zombies or something fun that nobody has to think about.
It's just a little bit of generic dollar store Dr. Pepper, Dr. Thunder.
Yeah.
It's like Diet Dr. Pepper, but it tastes more like generic dollar store crap. Anyway, would you like to move? Do you feel like we talked about this one good? Well. Grammar.
Doc, the metal freak said, I stalk celery usually. That's funny.
He's a funny guy. So what about in the chat? Let's check in with the chat really quick. So what are your guys' thoughts? What are your guys' thoughts on Homicidal? How many of you have seen it? Do you think it's, I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts? Let us know.
I'm at 2 movies down.
Sweet. Mahara was named after a character from Queen of the Damned. And I know Mahara has really cool, she named her children are some pretty cool names. She has a kid named after Ash, and she has a kid named after Jill Valentine from Resident Evil. Alrighty, are you ready to tackle the next one?
I didn't. Hold on. I'm sorry. I was trying to be cute, and now my girlfriend's mad at me. Sorry. I can't see that far.
I think Mahara's mother likes her better than my mother does. My mother calls me short, hairy one, and told me that she found me beneath a gooseberry bush. We're gonna refill this soda up real quick. So Brandon's going to marathon the Castle films soon. Absolutely. What are your favorite William Castle movies, Annie?
I'm sorry?
What are your favorite William Castle movies?
House on Haunted Hill, The Tingler, Mr. Sardonicus.
13 Ghosts? I like 13 Ghosts. Are you ready to move on to our next movie?
Yes. It's been a while, so I need you to take the lead on this one.
So we're going to go to a more modern movie. So stick with me here because this one gets dicey. And we just got through one that's dicey, but this one's going to get pretty hard to wrap your head around because it's hard for me to wrap my head around. But this one's pretty crazy, but it does fit in with Homicidal pretty well, I think.
Yeah, I think it does. I'm glad you put it right after Homicidal.
Yeah, I have a plan, a master plan. So we have.
I gotta be honest though. Do you consider this movie that we're going to be talking about in 2 seconds a horror movie? Because I'm on the fence with it.
Absolutely. Yeah, okay. Put yourself in the position of the character and tell me that's not horror. You have abduction. You have mutilation. Right. I think it's a horror movie. Okay. It's horror enough for my purposes.
Yeah.
But, that's the thing. A lot of horror movies, it's not a cut and dry genre. There's a lot of bleeding into comedy sometimes. There's bleeding into drama. There's bleeding into thriller. But for the purposes of this conversation, I think it fits well.
Oh, it most certainly makes you uncomfortable.
So what happens in The Skin I Live In, for anybody who hasn't seen this movie? It stars Antonio Banderas. Antonio Banderas has a daughter. I'm going to I'm going to gloss over a lot of stuff, so if you guys have seen this movie, I'm going to leave a lot of stuff out, but I'm just kind of focusing on how it pertains to the conversation. So we have Vicente. Vicente is a man, is a teenage boy, really, a young man.
Well, nice,
and he forces himself upon Antonio Banderas' daughter. He doesn't rape her, but it's pretty fucking bad. Antonio Banderas finds out about this, and he abducts Vicente. And he keeps Vicente in a locked room.
Mm-hmm.
And he is a master surgeon. So he takes Vicente and he turns him into a woman to essentially, it's revenge. It's revenge to make Vicente feel exactly what his daughter felt, to feel vulnerable, to feel attacked. And he basically treats Vicente kind of like his wife. They have a really strange relationship.
It is. It's just the movie's just creepy as hell. The whole thing.
It's really awkward. Vicente is now called Vera. She has had full reassignment surgery.
Yep.
She has nothing much to do with her day except for do yoga and stuff. Eventually, she does escape. She is raped. She is brutalized. Which was all part of Antonio Banderas' plan that. She would go through this. But getting into whether or not this is considered a trans film, the defining moment of this movie for me is Vera Vicente finally escapes.
Yeah.
And she goes, again, the pronouns are really difficult here, so forgive me. I'm not trying to be offensive. It's just really hard.
Something like this, you can get away with that.
Okay. They go to Vicente's mother's house.
Yes.
Vicente's mother has not seen Vicente since he was abducted. He was a man when he was abducted. And he tells his mother what happened to him. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and use just he.
Okay.
Because Vicente sees himself as a male. He never stopped seeing himself as a male.
No, he didn't.
And the defining moment of this film is Vicente is crying. His mother's crying. She doesn't know what to make of the situation. And then he says, "I am Vicente." Meaning that to him, he is still who he is on the inside. He is still male. He is still Vicente. He is not Vera. That was not his choice. That was abuse done onto him. So I do not consider this to be at least a traditional trans movie, because Vicente never made that decision. That was mutilation. No. That was abuse. It was not his decision.
Much like Homicidal, Vicente is a transgender male.
I think Vicente would be transgender if in his new body he started dressing as a male.
Well, I mean, no, you don't need to transition to be transgender. I mean, that's a misconception. I've known transgender people that haven't transitioned that because for whatever reason they can't, but they know what they are. So I would say he's definitely he's a man trapped in a female's body, and that's what you are when you're transgender, more or less. So for me, yeah, I think Vicente is a trans male.
And maybe this, I don't know, in a lot of ways this kind of changes how I look at a lot of these things too, because I think what's important here is just the same thing that's important, with anybody, especially people who maybe haven't transitioned.
Right.
Vicente is male, regardless of what the outside of his body looks like. He is male. Yeah. He has never seen himself as anything other than male.
No, yeah.
And that's what it kind of comes down to.
Yeah.
Though in this case, it's horrible because, he never asked for that stuff to happen to him.
No.
And in a lot of ways, this is kind of like a rape revenge movie. Yes, there's rape in it, but I mean rape as in they took his body and they did horrible things to it that were not
You didn't want them, yeah. It was terrible. It's such a truly disturbing movie, and like the scenes where they're dilating, it's just creepy, and it's just the director films it with the he's just amazing, the director.
It's beautifully shot, and the performances are fantastic. It's heartbreaking.
I mean, this is just a scene where somebody's dilating their vagina, and it shouldn't be creepy, but he films it with such amazing. He's just great. It becomes a creepy, disturbing scene that you're like, change anything, put anything else on than this scene right now, please God.
Honestly, you know what I would consider this movie to be? I would consider this to be body horror.
Yeah, I guess it is. Yeah. Could you imagine Cronenberg doing a movie like that? Oh my God, I don't even want to think about it.
But it is. It's body horror. Body horror is when you are horrified by the thought of something like this happening to your body, whether it's turning into a zombie, whether it's like your arms and stuff oozing off from some kind of a disease, or somebody was taking your body and completely mutilating it into something else. Yeah.
Whew. Oh man, it's and it's heartbreaking as well. Yeah, it's a tough movie to watch. It's not a movie you're like, I got a free hour. Let's say I got a free 2 hours. Let me just.
I mean,
throw
honestly,
in the skin I'm in and just,
Honestly, if you look at it, it's beat by beat. It's a lot like similar movies like this. Look at the movie Tusk. That guy was taken. His body was completely changed outside of his consent to be turned into a walrus. This guy, it's the same kind of thing. So I think it is horror because he never wanted to be a woman. Now, being a woman is less horrifying than being a fucking walrus, obviously. But to have somebody take your body,
you might like it. You don't know.
To have somebody take your body and completely just, I mean, that's such a violation.
Yeah, it's a tough sit. It's a tough sit, no doubt. And you don't realize how tough it's going to be. And I'm transgender, and I've gone through hormone therapy, but it creeps me the fuck out. I've seen it twice.
If surgery skeeves you out, like this movie is nightmare fuel.
Yeah, it really.
But I would say, just like Monty just said, Tusk is a body horror movie. Just as that's a body horror movie, this is a body horror movie.
I mean, think about it this way. I mean, I would love to have the surgery, but geez, I mean, so you would think that, hey man, Annie, this is like your fans. No, ain't my fan. No way, because then you have after the transition or the surgeries, then you have this weird fucked up relationship that they have that's just fucking weird.
Yeah, there's mental abuse, physical abuse. There's so much abuse in this movie. To
No
Brandon
doubt.
mentioned in the chat, he's asking me about the Suspiria remake. Actually, a quick plug for next week. We're going to be talking about Witchy Women of Horror, and we're going to be talking about that remake in detail. So that one we'll talk about soon. So here's the question. Is this movie beneficial, harmful, or meh to the community?
I mean, again, no one. See, this is part of my problem with transgender people in horror movies. No one ever sees these fucking movies. This movie's excellent. It's amazing, but it's not talked about. It's not. When you see the list,
there was a lot of people talking about it when it first came out. I haven't heard about it in a long time though.
Yeah, I mean, you would think now with it
this
being
movie
such a,
came
since,
out in 2011, and I also want to point out Vicente. When Vicente is a man, he's played by Jan Cornet, and Vera is played by a female actress, Elena. And I'm not gonna even try. By Elena.
Yeah, I don't think it hurts. I wish more people were talking about it. I think.
But why do you wish they would talk about it? Is it because there's something good here, or is there something bad here, or is it both, or neither?
I think anything that starts a conversation, a civilized conversation, like a meaningful conversation, and you could have that with this movie. And I think anything that does that is good, more or less, give or take, add or subtract. I don't see any ill intent, unlike our good friend William Castle. There's no ill intent here, I don't think.
No, I think that's intended to start a conversation.
With Castle, he was going for, look at this. I
think this movie is meant to start a conversation. I also think, in a way, this is also kind of part of, the rape revenge movies and stuff, because it's taking a man who was an abuser, and it's forcing him to live as a woman, because being a woman, for any of you who have not lived as a woman, it's hard, women, I think every single woman I know has been in some way abused or violated by a man, and that's really scary. It's really, really common. And so in a way, it gets into it gets into discussing women in horror, it gets into discussing rape revenge movies, gets into body horror, and I do think there are some trans issues here.
It also showed you just how amazing Antonio Banderas can be when he wants to act.
He's terrifying in this.
Yeah,
but he's still kind of sexy, and I feel so wrong for saying that.
I mean, you can forget the doctor from Human Centipede, because he ain't half as scary as Antonio Banderas.
See, Human Centipede, again, body horror. And why is it horrific? Because we're not meant to have our mouths sewn onto somebody else's ass,
Well, I mean, it depends on what kind of party you throw.
But, it's not horrific in this because he's transitioning. No. He's actually got a very skilled surgeon doing the work. And if you want to transition, this is the guy you want. He does good work. It's horrific because his consent was not given. No, just like sex in itself is not horrific, but it is horrific when your consent is not given and you're forced into it.
Yeah, it's
the matter of consent that makes this horror.
I agree. It's a disturbing movie, no doubt.
But do you like it?
Of course. Any movie that makes me uncomfortable is a good for me. I love that feeling where you need to go outside and take a breath of air and look at the sidewalk. Is it a real sidewalk? Is it not? And you got to go take a shower because it fucked up your head. And this did it, and that's that's what I love.
It's really horrific because this, Human Centipede, you try to say is 100% medically accurate. No, somebody could actually do this shit to you. Somebody could actually do this to you, abduct you, do all this shit to you. So it is really, really scary. And it's one of those things that leaves you afterwards. You're like, what happens to Vicente now? He says at the end, I think it's one of the last lines of the movie is, I am Vicente. So what now? What happens? How does he live his life?
I don't even want to. I don't want that problem.
It's a dark ending.
Yeah, none of these have like good endings. You ever notice?
Yeah, but this one, it does give you a lot to talk about. And I do like this movie. I do think that this is a movie you can watch a few times and see it in different ways.
You definitely have to be in the mood. Yet you can't just sit down on a Friday night with your girlfriend.
It's not a feel-good movie. This is not a date movie, guys.
No. No, maybe not. Oh, I mean, like I said, it depends what kind of people you are. But yeah, for me, my money, this is like it's up there with Last House on the Left. That's not the kind of movie you throw on a Friday night just for shits and giggles.
But sometimes I think what's wonderful about horror is there are real life things that make us uncomfortable. And horror gives us an opportunity to explore them in a way that's safe. It gives us an opportunity to discuss them with people. It gives us an opportunity to look at the world a little bit differently. And I think a lot of times horror should make us uncomfortable. If it's not making us uncomfortable, is it really horror?
Yeah.
I mean, on some level. Obviously, there's, like, funny horror movies, but even then, if you're not a little uncomfortable, like in Puppet Master, where, the guy, like, decapitates someone and pees on their head, it should make you just a little uncomfortable, even though it's done for comedic value. Horror should make you uncomfortable to be effective.
Yes, agreed. Most certainly.
Are we ready to move on to our next movie? Because this segues perfectly into the next one.
Yeah, let's do it.
You wanted to, you mentioned earlier having civilized conversation, so, I'm sticking out my little pinky and perfectly.
Yeah, I saw that. Cute.
To C4, we have not discussed any horror video games really on a stream, but Danny and I were just discussing the other day that would be a great idea for a stream, so stay tuned. Ring that bell if you haven't, because that's something that's definitely coming up soon.
Hey, can I give a plug? Because next week,
Absolutely.
me and Dave are going to be live streaming. Dave Baggett are going to be live streaming our thoughts on top 50 movies. There was a documentary came out last year, top 50 movies you need to see as a horror fan, and they got the list kibosh. They destroyed it. It was terrible. So me and Dave are going to take a look, and we're going to come up with our own 50 movies that we think you should see that maybe you haven't seen before.
Awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
So I'll definitely be watching. So this is a really good segue. The last two movies we talked about, I think, are a really good segue into Sleepaway Camp, which I feel like whenever I mention trans horror, this is one of the big movies people bring up.
Forget trans horror. You mentioned transgenderism to somebody, they're probably going to talk. They're going to mention this movie and another one.
There was a period of time where nobody had heard about this movie. I remember when I was a kid, nobody had heard of this movie, and now everybody knows about this movie. I think I kind of blame Robot Chicken, but you got to see this movie. It's fucked up.
Yeah. Robot Chicken didn't do us any favors, but let's.
Now, obviously, the intention here was not to make a movie that was necessarily. It was done for shock value.
Again, just like William Castle.
So, a refresher, or perhaps an introduction to anyone who hasn't seen Sleepaway Camp. Sleepaway Camp is, as the title says, about a sleepaway camp for, it's for kids, between 12 and 16 years old.
Yeah.
And we are introduced to Angela, who's very quiet, and her cousin Robbie. Angela's father, she went out with her father, her father's lover, and her brother. And they were in the water, and somebody on a speedboat who wasn't able to stop in time hits Angela's father and her brother. And we see, the life preserver, and apparently Angela has survived and has been sent to live with her cousin and her aunt. Her aunt is very unusual, very strange. You can tell from the beginning there's something off.
To say the least.
Yes.
To say the fucking least.
Fantastic actress. But she sends them to Sleepaway Camp, and she tells the cousin Robbie to look out for Angela. Well, they get to Sleepaway Camp. Angela doesn't want to participate in anything. Angela doesn't want to talk to anybody. Angela, though, kind of has a liking to a boy there, but it brings up some kind of confusing things from her childhood. She remembers sitting in a bed with her brother. They had just walked in on their father and his lover, and it's kind of changed the way she saw, gender. Like, she's pointing at her brother like, okay, you're a boy and I'm a girl, and then it kind of you see it kind of spin around, like, where do you end and where do I begin? Even though this is a very schlocky movie, they were trying to do some interesting stuff with, gender identification.
Let's just say this though, real quick, before we go on. How amazing was this young actress, Felicia Rose?
She's fantastic. Just her expressions.
The stares. She has such a 1,000-mile stare. She's chilling in this movie, and I don't think she's supposed to be, but she's terrifying in this movie.
I've met her. I've actually watched Sleepaway Camp with her and had her do commentary for it, and she signed my curling iron, which is my favorite kill in the movie. It says, "Up yours, Felicia Rose." Because, as you know, she shoves it up the girl's hoo-ha, and apparently that kills her. I don't know how you die from that, but you know what? I'm not going to question Felicia Rose, because she knows what she's doing. And if that's how you kill people, I've never shoved a curling iron up anyone's hoo-ha, so.
It can't feel good.
It can't. So, the big reveal of this movie, a whole bunch of people are being killed. Yeah. Everybody thinks it's Robbie. Everyone thinks it's the cousin doing it. Angela's on the beach with the boy that she likes. He is really trying to, take off her shirt and stuff. Angela is clearly uncomfortable. She's having a lot of PTSD. And then when we finally catch up to Angela, the counselors and everyone catch up to Angela, she is standing stark naked. The boy's head falls off her lap. He is decapitated. He's been killed by Angela. And we see that Angela is actually Robbie. She has a penis. She actually has a college boy's penis. Because a college boy played the body. But, she's very well endowed for, 14?
Yeah. And what I'm assuming she's on hormones of some kind.
Yeah. The body was played by a college boy. And he had a Felicia Rose mask on.
Yeah. Creepy.
So, this gets confusing. So it's revealed it was Angela who died. Robbie survived.
Yeah.
And then there's a flashback, and we see Robbie is sent to the aunt's house. And she's like, but we already have a boy. That won't do. Yeah. Wait, his name's not Robbie, is it? I don't know. I think I'm getting the names mixed up here, so forgive me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, it's been a while for me.
Peter. Okay, yeah. Robbie's the cousin. It's Peter. Okay.
Well, was Robbie the kid that
Robbie's
she
the cousin.
killed at the end?
No, Robbie's the cousin.
Okay.
I believe so.
I forget that kid's name was.
I can't remember. But, staying on topic.
Yes, please.
So, it's actually Peter the whole time. The aunt says, but we already have a boy. That won't do, because she has, the cousin, Robbie. So she decides, she's like, Angela, such a pretty name. It means angel or some shit like that.
Yeah.
And so she decides from that point on that Peter will be raised as a girl.
Yeah.
He will take on the identity of his sister, and he has no choice in the matter. And he's very young, and obviously he's lost his father and his sister. He's traumatized. He's just sent to a very abusive household. So Peter has gone through a lot.
Yes.
So we'll talk about the rest of the franchise in a bit, because things get even more complicated for Peter. But is Peter transgender?
No. Oh, again, I'm seeing a trend in these movies. A person trapped at this present moment.
That's why they kind of segue nicely, because there's a lot of similar things happening.
Yeah. At this moment, no. Peter is not transgender at this present moment. They're being forced, like our character in the last two movies, to transition. So.
I agree. I don't think Peter is transgender. I think Peter is really confused because he's been put through trauma. He's experienced trauma, and then he's been put through abuse. Peter hasn't had an opportunity, and he doesn't know how to say anything to stop this abuse. It's a very confusing situation, but Peter, I think, becomes violent because he knows that he's still a little boy, or at least he's confused by the fact that he's not allowed to be a little boy. So that's, why he kind of freaks out at the end. Though I do think Peter obviously likes boys, but, that's a different thing altogether. You can be gay and not be transgender. That's a whole other thing. Yeah. So I'm going to say no. So moving on to, how does this movie affect the community?
This is a fucking clusterfuck of a movie for transgender people, because it's what people talk about. It's that in the movie that will come up a little bit later. This is what you hear when, you're like, have you ever seen everyone will always ask you, have you ever seen Sleepaway Camp? Have you ever seen Silence of the Lambs? Have you ever seen Psycho?
People do that with any movie, though. Like, if people find out I'm pagan, they're like, so have you seen The Craft? Yeah. No, I've gone my whole life without seeing The Craft. Thank you so much for telling me.
I know. So no, I think this movie is a disaster.
Even just telling someone you're a horror fan, people will do that. Have you seen this movie? It's like, yes. I've probably seen everything
I think it's, I think it was made in poor taste. I think the twist was just for a shock. This movie is, I've described it to some of my transgender, like my girlfriend and stuff, and they, just on the premise alone, they were kind of offended. I think this movie it was made in poor taste. Let me just be honest.
Why do you think it's offensive, though? Is it offensive because it perpetuates the idea that being trans is a mental illness?
Just the idea. I think, that's one of it. That's a reason. And I just think, like, it was only made for the shock value. It wasn't made for anything else, much like the rest of the movies. But it's even more kind of sleazy than the other movies.
It is sleazy. I mean, the sleaziest part for me is when the kids, they're children. They're like 14, and the cook is, he calls them baldies, and he's all talking about how he wants to molest these kids.
Yeah, but he has this movie giant bad as soup chopped on his head, so.
There's a lot of skeeziness in this movie.
And the camp counselor, he's like, the
guy who runs the place is like boning one of the counselors.
Yeah. The whole movie's sleazy, and they don't handle Angela with tact. I think it's a movie that doesn't do us any favors, us being transgender people. I mean, it doesn't necessarily hurt, but it kind of does.
It's definitely not helping. But it's also not a movie's responsibility to always be socially conscious. And
no, this is horror.
Yeah. I don't think it's helping, but because I don't consider Angela to be trans necessarily, I don't see it as being altogether harmful. And I do think there's some interesting stuff about gender identity in here beneath all the schlock.
Yeah, they clearly were not trying to reach anybody.
Well, no. But I think there is some good stuff in here. But that brings us to, do we like the movie?
Oh, yeah, the movie's awesome.
Yeah. Despite the schlock, this is a lot of fun. This is like a good beer and pizza movie. I don't think this is a movie that really needs to be analyzed or.
I don't know how comfortable it would make me watching now. I think I'd be, especially with people. I don't know. I haven't seen it since I've come out. But yeah, I don't know how I would respond to it now. But the kills are amazing. Oh my God, some of the kills are just fantastic.
It's a good slasher movie. It's not a good trans movie, and I don't even necessarily, at least in my opinion, I don't necessarily think this one should be lumped into the whole trans conversation as much as it is.
All right, so let's go to the clusterfucks of the rest of this.
Okay, so we're not going to go into as much detail with the sequels, because if you thought this was schlock, if you thought this was cheese, if you thought this was complete and utter ridiculousness, well, fuck me, because part 2, 3, and 4, they just take it to a whole other level of insanity. And they get pretty bad.
They do. So in the second one, Angela...
But I love the poster of part 2. The poster's killer. And that's not Angela. I don't know why that woman is on the poster.
Yeah, that always confused me with those movies.
Yeah, that woman on the poster is never Pamela Springsteen. So, starting with part 2 and part 3, Angela is now played by Pamela Springsteen, no longer played by Felissa Rose. She is a bit older now. So, what it tells us that happens between the events of Sleepaway Camp 1 and Sleepaway Camp 2 is Angela has endured 2 years of electroshock therapy, and they believe that she is no longer a danger to herself or others. She is cured. She is released. Now, Angela, who's apparently cured now, she has decided that she does identify as female. She does want to live her life as a female. She wants to be Angela, not Peter, and she decides to have gender reassignment surgery. Now, at this point, I'd say this is the first movie we've talked about so far where it's legitimately a trans movie. Somebody believes that they need to make a change to their outside to match who they are. She gets gender reassignment surgery, and she feels like she is exactly who she's meant to be finally.
Yeah.
So whether that's the result of abuse or not, that's not really, made altogether clear. Obviously, Angela's got some fucking issues. But she is, at this point,
I mean, she keeps going back
character.
to these sleepaway camps. I mean, just stay home for the summer.
And she's a counselor in this one. This one's even more schlocky.
Yeah.
But the kills are pretty fun.
It goes down in quality.
It definitely does. But this is just like C-movie schlock. There's an outhouse kill. It gets pretty fucked up, guys.
And you also have the greatest song of all time,
I'm a happy camper.
Song.
Yeah. So, I think we can really just kind of lump 2 and 3 together here.
Yeah, definitely.
So, here's the poster for part 3, if y'all are curious. It's still not Angela on the poster. Well, I mean, it's supposed to be, but it's not the actress who plays her.
Is that the one with the boob shot?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So then we have The Survivor, which is really not a movie at all.
But let's talk about just 2 and 3 briefly, just kind of go over it.
Okay, sorry.
So I absolutely consider in 2 and 3 Angela's trans.
Yeah.
You?
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you thought part 1 was potentially complicated, if you thought part 1 wasn't doing the trans community any favors, what do you think of these two? Because it's a whole other ball of wax.
You know what? My big issue is they could have done something here, had her dealing with some issues and stuff. No. It's a one line in the beginning of the movie. Oh yeah, she had this surgery. She's now a female. Brush it under the carpet. Here's the kills for the rest of the movie. They clearly didn't want to touch this. Maybe they didn't want to nestle. I mean, it's quite possible they were like, this could open it. Probably not, because it was still, like 90s, but late 80s, early 90s. So they weren't thinking like, oh, let's not ruffle any feathers.
These movies came out in 1988 and 1989, respectively.
Okay, so late 90s. So they clearly weren't trying to be sensitive.
Well, no, they're still treating it like shock value, and I think also at this point in our conversation, these are probably, in my opinion, the two that actually are harmful, because they really dehumanize Angela. Angela is a straight up villain. We don't really get a good reason for why she's killing people, except for the fact that she's crazy. And and it's almost like saying that because she was raised as a female, that was enough to make her so crazy that she's homicidal. Well, there's tons of people who are raised as a different gender than they believe themselves to be, and they don't murder people. So I think that part of it is damaging, and it's all treated like schlock. Angela's not a fully fleshed out character. We don't really get a well-rounded character in this one. Certainly much less than we did in the first one.
Because even if they made her the killer, but they give her no motivation. Okay, it's literally brushed under the carpet. Oh yeah. She had the surgery after being in the hospital. Here's the kills. So clearly they didn't want to talk about it. They just wanted, they were trying to make a new Jason, and it wasn't working because, she's a young female, and she's not too this actress was not terrifying or at all whatsoever.
It's also offensive to women because at the time, like you said, aside from Mrs. Voorhees in Friday the 13th, we hadn't really had any really big name female killers. I think they were trying to do that, but in a sense, they, we didn't even really get that because, this is somebody who is a killer because
they botched this movie.
They just bought. I don't even know how to really fully articulate this, but
I'm not.
We just couldn't have a straight up female villain.
I mean, does this offend me? I mean, it's in bad taste. It's offensive. Sure, it's offensive. But
I think it would be more offensive if it took itself seriously and it still did this bad of a job. Obviously, I think where it kind of gets an out is that it doesn't take itself seriously at all.
But even then, I mean, like, who's seen this movie? People know the first one. But, I mean, come on. No one's watching this movie. No, I mean, diehard fans. But
I have the whole set in, like, a medical kit. It's, like, a special edition that came out in.
Yeah, I remember that one. And it's a bad movie. It's offensively bad. Yeah, it's offensively bad. You do get Happy Camper. It's a great song. It makes up for a lot. But, I just...
I don't think Angela's really likable at this point. Like, I like her in part 1, but she's kind of obnoxious in these two films.
Oh, it's every teenage female character that's ever been in a movie ever. She's annoying. She's over. They have her as an airhead half the time until the end of the movie. The movies are no good.
I think I would have just rather if they kind of just skipped all of that. I mean, you could have just had somebody, because she is kind of personality-wise, she is that overly happy camp counselor who's like shoving craft projects down your throat. They could have just done that and made her fucking evil, like they did with Umbridge, who is that overly strict character teacher in Harry Potter. They could have just had her be a crazy camp counselor. I don't know if we really needed all the rest of it, because it doesn't add anything
with this movie. You could have had her like, at a camp like in Friday the 13th Part 5, and somebody's trying to get anything. You could have done anything else with this character, and it would have been an improvement. But no. Let's put as minimal effort in. Let's just waste everyone's time and energy. This movie is forgettable. It deserves to be forgotten.
So you don't like these movies?
God, no. I mean, like you said, Part 2 has some interesting kills.
Part 2 and 3. There's a lawnmower.
Part 2. I didn't like Part 3
is really obnoxious. Part 2 has its moments.
Yeah.
So we're gonna skip Part 4. There was a Part 4 called The Survivor, but it was never finished. In 2012, they did release kind of a version of it that's been kind of mashed together, but it's not really a completed film.
60 minutes altogether, I think.
And it doesn't really add anything to this conversation. Where it kind of gets interesting again is Sleepaway Camp Part 5, which has got to be the most annoying entry in the whole fucking series.
I would rather watch Son of Sleepaway Camp or The Survivor than I would rather watch this piece of shit.
This one's really, honestly, the first half of this movie is, the first half of this movie is a kid who's being bullied, and he's whining and crying, and he's really obnoxious. I know we're not supposed to...
And he's the most hateful. You hate this character.
He skins the frogs.
Why would you make a character that you're supposed to be sympathetic with in the beginning, and you just hate this kid? Your ass stinks. I mean, Mike, just shut up.
You should want to feel sympathy for the character who's being bullied, but he is awful.
No way, man.
So that's really bad. And then you wonder, like, what the fuck does this have to do with Sleepaway Camp, aside from it's supposedly the same camp? And there are some, new appearances, and then you're like, where the fuck's Felissa Rose? The reason I want to bring this one into the conversation is because at the very end of it, you find out that the sheriff, who's got the voice modulator box that you have typically if you had your lyrics.
Let's be honest, that's the worst makeup. If you didn't know that was Felicia Rose, you have no idea. I mean, that's just the worst makeup in the world.
So you find out that he doesn't even need this voice box, and the whole time it's been Felissa Rose, and she takes off the mustache, and it's Angela. Ooh. But this is where it gets complicated, guys. This is where your mind's gonna get freaking blown. The filmmaker has said that this Angela is not the Angela from the first 4 movies. The filmmaker has said that Angela, the little girl that we thought died, has survived. And this is her. That the Angela that was born as Peter is not in this movie. This is the original OG Angela. Apparently she's crazy too.
When you told me that, I sat there for 5 minutes like, the fuck are you talking about?
It's weird, but if you watch the commentary stuff, that's what the filmmakers say. I wouldn't consider Angela, the actual Angela, not Peter Angela, to be trans. She's in disguise because she wants to kill people. So... Yeah.
I will say this about this movie. I hate it. It's terrible. But they bring back the brother, and they bring back the musclehead camp counselor. And I thought that was okay. You know what? You went and dug these guys out of the catacombs of horror movies. You dusted them off, and you put them in a movie for some unforsaken reason. I kind of respected that. But, I mean, it's probably the only thing that those guys have been in 100 years.
Yeah, so, wow.
I kind of like the continuity, bringing the same actors back. I thought that was a nice touch. But That's really it.
Jonathan Tierney's in it, who played the cousin.
Yeah.
But honestly, really, the only one really worth watching this whole franchise is Sleepaway Camp. The original.
Now they keep teasing a remake of Sleepaway Camp.
They do.
Please don't remake this movie, because you're not going to do it well.
I want them to remake it.
They're not going to do it well.
I want them to remake it. You know why I want them to remake it? Because Felissa Rose, 1, wants to remake this. She wants to be part of the production squad. 2, she wants to play the aunt. Which, how fucking perfect. I would fucking love that.
I don't think...
And you could do so much here. Okay, here, take this as an example. So Suspiria. We had Suspiria, right, in the 70s. Suspiria was about witches, but the villains in this aren't really developed. They're witches. That's their explanation. They're evil because they're witches. You don't need any explanation. We get the remake where these characters are fully developed, and it's almost an entirely different movie. What if they did that with Sleepaway Camp? What if in this remake they actually treat this character as a fully developed character?
They won't. They won't. Come on, let's be honest.
Well, until we see it, I think, I think it's an interesting concept.
I have so little faith in 1, remakes, and 2, the ability of anyone to handle this kind of situation tactfully. There are exceptions, as we'll get to later in the show.
I have faith. I have a lot of faith because I feel like change, unfortunately, is slow coming, but it happens gradually over time. Yeah. And I don't know. I don't know if it can be done with Sleepaway Camp because the source material is so schlock. But anything Felissa Rose is in, I'll always give a chance.
And you know what? You want to remake Sleepaway Camp? You gotta do it with practical effects, and they just don't do practical effects like they did back then anymore. They just don't do it. It was sadly, I'm still a girl that loves practical effects.
Me too. Now, we were going to cut for a break, but we're already like an hour and a half in, so I think we'll just continue on to our next one. If we have time at the end, we're going to play a little Who Will Win.
Well, would you give me a moment to use the little girl's room and
help yourself? I'll talk to the chat.
And go bother my girlfriend. All right, I shall be back presently.
So we're going to take a little short... Well, she's going to take... Did she just hang up on me? What? So we're taking a little short break while Annie uses the little girl's room. Everyone in the chat, let me know how you're doing. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the conversation. I know we're talking about a lot of very crazy movies. And we're talking about some stuff that, not everybody is comfortable talking about. But hopefully we're doing a good job. So... hopefully it's at least interesting. I guess that's all I can really hope for. What are you guys talking about in the chat here? Now, C4, you were asking me about PCs. I try to kind of mention it in the chat without ignoring any. But yeah, I build my own PC. I think that's just the best way to go. Tony Rosa's here. Awesome to see you. Yeah, so... what do you guys think? Do you guys think the Sleepaway Camp films are offensive? Any of them? Some of them? All of them? Let me know what you guys think in the chat. Really curious to hear your guys' thoughts on them, because I absolutely think that, especially the sequels, I can see them being offensive just because they're kind of handled clumsily. But, it's also one of those things where you have to look at the times. The 80s were a very different time. It's not the most progressive time. So, it makes it a little easier to just, I don't know. These films don't make me angry, but I can see how they can be offensive. There's a lot of movies in the 80s, like Revenge of the Nerds and 16 Candles, where they had, date rape and stuff. And obviously, you could never get away with that stuff in modern-day movies. If you look at the portrayal, again, 16 Candles of Long Duck Dong, it's a really racist portrayal. But, sometimes we just kind of have to accept that it was a different time, and those movies haven't really aged well. But if you like them, these movies are beer and pizza movies for me. And they don't make me angry, and I find them somewhat enjoyable. They're not great films, but they're beer and pizza movies. Spectre of the Macabre says, I never heard Sleepaway Camp being offensive, but it was the 80s and 90s. Yeah, absolutely. The way I grew up watching these movies, it was just kind of shocking. Oh my gosh, did you see that movie? Did you expect the ending? Nobody really thought of it as an issue dealing with real people. It was just a shocking ending. Now, I think it has become something that people are looking at a little differently. And Spectre of the Macabre also says he likes Sleepaway Camp 2. And I like Sleepaway Camp 2. I think that one was still pretty fun, especially because Angela's kind of developing this friendship with another counselor. And I just kind of wanted Angela to get her shit together and just have a normal life. But, it's just not in the cards. It's not in the cards for Angela. And, yeah, I love 16 Candles. It's one of my favorite movies, too. Even though maybe it hasn't aged. So, that's okay. It's okay for us to like movies that are from a different time where, well, things were less progressive. So, how was your break?
Oh, it was amazing. Changed my life.
That's awesome. So, we're going to get into... So we just...
can I just say, I'm so proud of us, Gory, because every time we hang out, we stream, we never get nothing done, and we just
talk. Tons done, girl!
I don't know. It seems like we wind up talking about sharks and zombies more than we do anything
You're talking
important.
about sharks and zombies. We've gotten halfway through our list.
Yes, we did. All right. You can take it away.
We just talked about some schlock stuff. Now,
yes.
I think where it gets more complicated, I think where it gets more, where we have to take it a little more seriously. See, I take movies about as seriously as they take themselves. Even though I recognize the Sleepaway Camp movies have some things that are offensive in them, these movies take themselves completely not serious at all. Yeah. So it's very hard to get too upset or angry about anything in those movies. Yeah. The next movie we're going to talk about is a very serious movie. It's so serious, in fact, because the 90s were a different time. The 90s came right after the whole sequel craze, the franchises. Yeah. And a lot of movies that wanted to do well, to be successful, to be Oscar-worthy, did not want to be attached to horror. They were called psychological thrillers.
Yeah.
And, they took themselves incredibly seriously. So we're going to talk about The Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah.
This movie, honestly, the thing that offends me the most about this movie, and we're going to have different thoughts in here, but the thing that I find most offensive about it is Silence of the Lambs does not want to be called a horror movie.
No,
everyone says it's a psychological
this is a topic for another day maybe you can go on about, but I agree.
A guy eats a guy's face off. It's a fucking horror movie.
It's about a cannibal helping to find a guy who's sewing women's skin together to make a meat suit. It's a horror movie. It's not a psychological thriller. It's psychological horror. It's not. I mean, it's not what you want it to be.
But that's the thing, just as somebody who loves these movies and who understands that there is a broad spectrum between the camp and the movies that really are highly intelligent, it bothers me when a movie is, ashamed to be horror. Well, that's not the only thing this movie's ashamed of. Before we get into it, though, why don't, for anyone who's just been living under a rock, why don't you quickly tell them a synopsis of what Silence of the Lambs is?
Sure. Clarice is called in to talk to. There's a sling of murders by a guy named Buffalo Bill. He's abducting overweight women and killing them. They don't precisely know why. They call in a recruit, still in the academy in the FBI, and by Jack Crawford, and she has to talk to a famous serial killer, Hannibal Lecter, to get help in the case, and from there. It spirals into just some weird shit, frankly.
Essentially, it's one of those using a killer to catch a killer. They have one of the most dangerous criminals, Hannibal Lecter, who is a cannibal. Yeah. And he is helping them to understand the psychology behind what would cause somebody to commit these murders so that they can hopefully figure out who is behind it all.
Right, and it turns out that Buffalo Bill is abducting these overweight women. And he is using their skin to make a suit, a female suit, so he can wear it and finally feel like a woman, or assuming that's what he wanted. And he's doing awful things to these women. Meanwhile, Dr. Lecter is using this just for his own personal gain, and so he can get the hell out of Dodge. It's essentially the plot.
Yeah. So to answer, let's talk about, because this is where things get complicated. Do we consider Buffalo Bill, the serial killer who is making a suit out of women, which again is inspired by Ed Gein, is he transgender?
most certainly.
Now, obviously, I would say Buffalo Bill is clearly psychotic, but he is also transgender.
Yeah.
He sees himself as a woman. He's always known himself to be a woman, and he is doing something to make his outside reflect that. Now, obviously, what he is doing is highly wrong. It's highly criminal. It's highly insane. You don't wear a fucking woman's suit, you know. He could just live as a woman, but Buffalo Bill has been abused. And I believe that he knows that if he were to transition naturally, just, you know, start living as a woman, I don't think he feels like that's enough or that it would be accepted just because of the abuse he's suffered. That he has to do this to feel complete. And that's where, you know, it's kind of scary.
Well, yeah, you know, I don't know. This movie's just.
Something
I think, like, if he would have been able to, if he would have been able to transition.
And he lives in the 90s when the 90s was not open-minded. I think it was people were more aware that there were transgender.
I mean, they were just getting over the AIDS scare of the 80s. You know, it's.
He doesn't live in a progressive time.
So.
And
no, he couldn't just go to Planned Parenthood and speak to a counselor and get on some hormone therapy that day. He would not have been able to do that.
And he has zero support, zero friends, and he's mentally ill.
Huh?
He has zero support,
so they're not gonna,
zero friends, and he's mentally ill.
Do that.
Yeah. So he is a product of his environment largely, but yeah, this is a person who's sick not because he's trans, but because he's mentally ill and he is using his illness to hurt others. And hey, we just got a new subscriber, Squeeze My Cheese. That's probably the best name I've ever heard of. Welcome to the horror family. Welcome to the Gory Hole.
Hey, could we briefly talk about that Ted Levine article that just...
I actually wanted to get to that because not only is this movie ashamed to be a horror movie, Ted Levine, who plays Buffalo Bill, has published an article where he says Buffalo Bill is not a trans character, and he's almost like offended by people thinking that he is. Just like this movie doesn't want to be called horror, this movie does not want to be called trans, and yet every single article I've read on trans horror mentions this movie. And Ted Levine, instead of addressing it properly, he's just really offended by it. So why don't you talk about that a little bit, Annie?
Well, he says in his article, God, this guy's such a moron. And I liked him as an actor. His voice is amazing. He was terrifying in Joey, right? But
I can
like
the performance and the work without liking the person.
Yeah, definitely. He was in Buffalo Bill, gay or transgender or anything. He's just pretending to be transgender so he could get to victims quicker. But that makes no freaking sense because he's not out there killing.
Particularly since his wrangling method.
He's killing women. Yeah.
His wrangling method is he's kind of a combination of serial killers. He's Ed Gein, obviously, with the woman suit. But the thing he does when he's like, "Oh, my dog is hurt, will you help me?" Or that's Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy would try to trick people into getting close enough to his vehicle so he could abduct them. Ted Bundy was like the actor Ted Levine. He was good looking. He was charming. Ted Bundy never needed to pretend to be trans, and Ted Levine doesn't need to either. So his whole argument that he's just doing that. Also, nobody sees what he's doing in his home. Nobody knows. They can't even wrap their heads around why he's making a woman's suit. So that doesn't really add up. Yeah.
No, it's just a guy who. Let's just for the sake of argument say that he wasn't playing the character as transgender. He clearly was. But let's just say he wasn't. He's so blind to the fact that art is subjective. It's not always what you intended it to be, but the final product. The final product, he is transgender. It's just accept that that's the way it came out. Just accept that and move on with your life. But he won't. You know, it's really
offensive. Accept that the film can be interpreted differently.
Yeah, you know, it's up for. And
in the chat, let us know. Do you consider Buffalo Bill to be transgender? Because for me, it's no question.
Yeah, no doubt, yeah.
But you guys don't need to agree with us, you know. Speak your piece.
Yeah, you don't have to.
So I
Gory,
think
is something wrong with your mic? I can barely hear you, huh?
You can barely hear me? Can you hear me better?
No,
I can turn my mic up.
It's all staticky and... It's staticky and echoey. I don't know if anyone else is having that problem.
Let me double check my mic really quick.
Okay.
Is that better?
Oh, worse. There you go. Whatever you did worked, kind of.
I didn't do anything. Is that better?
For a second. It's all right. Let's just go with it.
Hold on a second. Okay, so there's that.
Yeah. Perception. Okay, Lisa. I'm glad you can hear her.
Can you guys hear me okay? Oh, great. Now I've done something to my mouse.
There you go. That was it.
Is it better?
Yeah. It's better.
Let me know in the chat if I sound bad. It could just be my voice.
They're all saying you're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hold on. I'm going to double check something really quick. All right. I think we're good. I think
good.
My webcam was sending you the Skype cam. My webcam audio. So I think you were hearing it bad.
Oh, okay. I see. Okay.
Okay, so, shoot, I got a little off track with the whole technical gift. Yeah, in the chat, we're hearing, I'm seeing, okay, I said hearing because they're saying hearing. Michael Long says he's absolutely trans. I think he's absolutely trans. Oh, hey, yeah, just subscribed. So that's cool. I don't know why those little...
My name's Annie, Lisa. Please get it right. My name's Annie. This Lisa girl, she's awful.
What?
All right, so yeah. She calls me Andrea.
Andrea, it's Antoinette. It's fancy and French.
Come on, Lisa. You know that.
Anyhow, Lisa,
we have a running gag between
I get you. So, I think we both. I think honestly, getting into the idea of is this movie beneficial or offensive? I think what's most offensive is kind of the shame this movie brings. Like, it's ashamed of being a horror movie, and it's ashamed of having a trans character.
It does so much harm. It does so much freaking harm because, again, somebody in the chat room said, "Would you fuck me?" Do you know how many fucking times a troll has said that to me? A troll has posted something on a page. I've
just seen the stuff you've shown me. I've seen the stuff you've shown me, and I've seen how so many people say that to you. And I like that song too, but that song is forever linked to that moment in this movie.
Yeah, I unironically like it, and I do dance to it because I'm not I don't take things too seriously. But my God, that scene. Buffalo Bill has it's just a pain in the ass. It might not be offensive. It's a pain in the fucking ass. It might, because like even like my girlfriend who's never seen Silence of the Lambs, but she knows that song and she knows that she knows that scene. You know, she's seen parts of it, but yeah, I mean that scene. It's. I mean, I've read articles with the director saying that he was trying to make a statement. I don't think he particularly was. It's nice for him to say now, but yeah, I mean, it's I don't know.
Okay, taking the criticism and the trolling aside, because obviously people do that, and people do that with a lot of movies where they take a quote they love and stuff, and it sucks so much that trolls use that to hurt you. That really sucks.
Yeah.
Obviously that part of it sucks, and I think that's an unintentional consequence because this movie came out before, like, the internet as we know it was a thing. I don't think that was ever intended, but looking at that scene, there's this character who has mental illness, he's trans, he is having this moment where he's putting on the things that make him feel like who he really is. This very kind of, he wears a lot of extravagant colors and stuff, you know? And he's having this moment where he's being who he believes he is in the comfort of his own home where he doesn't have people judging him. What do you think of this scene? Do you think the scene's offensive?
it's hard. It's ruined. It's hard to separate one and the other one now. And it's hard to look separate the two. Is it offensive? No. Hold on a second. Hold on. Give me 1 second. Julie, is that scene offensive of Buffalo Bill dancing to you? Okay. She remains to be neutral. I don't know. It's not offensive. It's just it's what it's morphed into, and it's kind of just muddied in my. I can't separate the two anymore. Sadly.
I completely understand that.
Yeah.
And I would say the biggest thing as far as its negative influence on the trans community, I mean, obviously there is how it's almost become a meme unintentionally.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
But I think the other thing is it really projects this idea of being transgender as being a mental illness.
Yes, it does no favors when trying to show. I mean, he is a fleshed out character, so he's not Angela. He's not.
But he's mentally ill, and the division between the two. You can be transgender and not be mentally ill, and I don't think that is made very
and you
clear.
Can be both too. I mean,
you can be. But he's not killing people because he's transgender.
No, he's
killing
people because
he's
he's
transgender and be completely healthy. I don't believe you've killed anybody, to my knowledge.
Well, I can't. Let's just move on quickly.
But yeah, I think the point I'm trying to make here is the movie doesn't make it clear that there is a division, and particularly because we have so many movies where any transgender character. I think that's the biggest problem with these kind of early depictions of transgender characters in horror movies is they're always the murderer. They're never the hero. They're never the detective. They're never the final girl. They're always the murderer.
Yep.
There is usually very little explanation for why they're killing aside from they're abused. And I think the fact that up until this point in the 90s, we've never seen a trans character in a movie be anything other than this, except for at the time I think we had The Crying Game, which isn't a horror movie, but...
that's another offensive freaking movie, but that's for another day.
That's a whole other thing. So, it sucks that it's kind of become a joke, because this is a very intelligent movie. It's a very well-made movie. It did get Best Picture.
It's fantastic. I mean, it's won Oscars for a reason.
But I think a lot of the problem comes from that there is no clear division from the fact that Buffalo Bill is mentally ill and Buffalo Bill is
There is one scene where they're talking to, it's one scene, and it's very briefly, I think it's Jack Crawford might be talking to a reassignment doctor, and in the script, he was supposed to make it clear that you could be transgender and mentally ill, or you don't have to be one to be the other.
Stable.
Yeah, and they cut it. They cut it for some reason.
They should have let that in.
Yeah, but no, I think they cut it because it would have done exactly what we wanted and would have made a little more sympathy, given a little more reason behind Buffalo Bill. But no, we can't do that. Let's just have him be a maniacal serial killer who's also trying to become a female, because that's creepy.
And I hate that is good enough. That's good enough for why he's killing people, because it's not good enough. But I want to give you a question that we just got in the chat that I think is really good, and I want to hear your thoughts on this. Tony Rosa said, would you say that the Buffalo Bill character is trans because of his mental illness, mentally ill because of being trans, or just both parallel to each other?
Yeah, it could be a little bit. Okay, so, let's just say he's transgender, right? And he's always been transgender. Let's just say from birth, he's felt like something's wrong. And then he's abused and tortured, and so, yeah, it one makes the other worse, right? So he becomes abused and mentally ill, and manic depressive, and then he's tortured, and he has a psychotic break, and his dysphoria only gets worse because he's going through such horrible shit, So his dysphoria grows, his mental illness grows. Neither one is fucking treated. If you treat the dysphoria, maybe then you can get a handle on the mental illness. It's at a certain point they become to me anyway, symbiotic to one another. It's because the dysphoria grows, and so does his psychosis at the same time, because both are going untreated. So yeah, I think they're parallel, but they're both they both need each other at the point where we're at Sons. When we first see Buffalo Bill, he's beyond saving. He's beyond saving, and they both sides need each other for what he's trying to do.
I think that's a really good explanation.
Yeah.
Good job.
So,
well done,
thanks.
Annie.
Occasionally, occasionally it's not just really bad memes and videos. Occasionally, there's sometimes I
think you nailed it right there.
All right.
Absolutely. So I don't have anything else to add on that, and I guess we just finish up with, do we like the movie?
Love the movie. It's amazing.
I'm glad that you can still enjoy the movie, even though this movie's been used to attack you so much, because I think that sucks.
Yeah, I mean, now Hannibal is god-awful fucking offensive. I wouldn't watch that. But this movie, I mean, come on. You have Anthony Hopkins, the role he was fucking made for.
And the fucking talent and chemistry between him and Jodie Foster in this movie is just insane.
The acting's stellar. The special effects are great. The cinematography is like.
I always wanted Clarice and Hannibal to like be buds at the end of this.
Yeah, well, that happens in Hannibal. But like the scene where she goes to confront Buffalo Bill at the end, and he turns the light off. That's directed with on the head of a nail. I mean, it's so terrifying, and it's a great movie, no doubt. A fantastic film. Music's awesome too. Yeah, it's a great movie.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think we're ready to move on to the next one. So.
This is where me and you might fight.
You know what? We can disagree.
Yeah.
But that's okay. That's what a discussion is. We don't have to agree on everything. Though so far, I'm surprised by how much we've agreed, because I thought we would disagree more.
I think we should put a time limit on this one, so we don't just spend forever arguing about it.
I don't think we're going to spend forever on it, but
okay.
I think we'll be okay.
Okay.
We'll talk about it as much as we need to talk about it. But, okay, so now this one was one that got brought up in our last stream towards the end of the stream when we were pretty wasted. So we're not in a position to be able to talk about it. But now that we're sober, we're awake, we haven't even streamed 2 whole hours. We're doing great in time. So let's talk about this. Now, obviously, the reason this was brought up is because there's a character in American Horror Story Hotel. This is the 5th season of American Horror Story. If you're familiar with that show, each season is almost like a movie where they do something different. In this season, what we're focusing on in particular is there's a character named Elizabeth Taylor. Elizabeth Taylor works in the hotel. She was somebody who lived as a man for a while, was born a man, had a wife. I think she had a child. I don't remember. But yeah, it's set during the 80s, I believe. This person is horribly just treated badly by other people. Did you write hey on my screen?
Huh?
Did you write hey on the screen?
Did I hand the screen?
I don't know. The word hey popped up on the screen.
Oh, no. Oh, I know. That's from 100. Oh, that's from Skype.
Anyway, so
okay.
the actor playing this role is Dennis O'Hare.
Dennis O'Hare, yeah. Good actor.
Yes, very good actor. So, let's start with, do you think Elizabeth Taylor is a trans character?
Oh, yeah, clearly. Trans character.
And this is a character who lived as a man, was married, tried to do all that, and then finally realizes who she is when the Countess, who's this vampire who runs the hotel, and I'm not getting into all the specifics of this show because it's fucking crazy, but the Countess gives her a makeover, and you can see for the first time that this character feels happy. They feel accepted. They feel like they belong. They feel protected. And from then on, that character becomes Elizabeth Taylor, and she lives in the hotel.
Yep.
And she's not a villain. She's not even like one of the main characters.
No.
This one for me, I didn't find. I thought it was actually a pretty good depiction. I know you don't care for this.
Well, okay. First off, I didn't like Hotel that season, but you get a straight Irish white guy to play a transgender female. It's just wrong to me on many levels. I don't think it's right at all. And that's because
you feel that there are trans actors out there who are being denied parts.
Yeah.
Laura Looney gave us a donation. She said Gory and Andrea are the bomb.
Lisa, my name is Annie. Lisa, my goodness. See the kind of I don't know what kind of people you know, Gory.
I know awesome people.
She misnames me all the time, and it's not nice. It's not nice. Hurts my feet. Yeah, I just think like it's not representation, and this isn't just with American Horror Story. You know, a Transparent. Why was it Jeffrey Tambor? You know, it's not representation, and it doesn't do us any favors.
I kind of understand that. This is going to seem like a really strange example, but when the Twilight movies were being made, obviously there's a lot of Native American characters in that, and there are Native American actors, and they're constantly passed over. Usually in a lot of movies, when there's a Native American character, they'll cast.
Okay, so if you're interested in what Julie says, my girlfriend, she's right here. She said she considers it the opposite of representation. She just literally 5 seconds ago compared it to blackface.
Okay, I don't see that, but can I finish saying what I was saying?
Yeah, sure. I'm sorry.
Okay, so what I was trying to say was in New Moon, they had characters who were Native American, and Native Americans are constantly passed over, usually for Mexican or Hispanic actors and actresses. And they specifically said in their casting call for that they would only hire a Native American actor. And I really respect that, because those are people who deserve work too. However, what I will say about American Horror Story, this is like an acting troupe. It's the same people every year. And I personally believe if the actor is talented, regardless of their gender, they deserve a chance. Just like I think a transgender person should not have to be limited to trans roles. I think a transgender person should be able to play anybody they want. It should come down to the talent of the individual. And Dennis O'Hare, you said yourself, is talented, and he does a good job with this role.
Yeah, but if you're going to have a trans character, look, with American Horror Story, they get new characters every year. Every year. So let's not pretend that they don't get new actors. They do that all the time. And actors cycle in and out. But you have a chance to have a transgender female on your show who's really transgender. Why wouldn't you just do it? I mean, it's not. It's the opposite.
Nobody auditioned that they liked. I don't think they should hire someone just because they're transgender. I don't think anybody should be denied a role because they're transgender. I think if you fit the part, I mean, finding somebody for a part is incredibly difficult.
Yeah, but this is a major TV show. They could have found somebody.
They also needed somebody who was going to be able to play this character pre-transition. Now, if you've seen Orange is the New Black, there is a trans person playing a trans person in that. And they were very lucky that actress has a twin brother who was able to play that character pre-transition. But in this case, they didn't have that.
Yeah, but you can always dress down. You always kind of look. I mean, unless you've had facial reconstructive surgery, there's there's just a million other ways they could have done it instead of getting. You have a chance, and they didn't take it. I found it offensive.
I understand what you're saying, but I also think
Yeah, but, Gory. Also, let me just say this. I hate to cut you off, but you get to see representation of people like you in movies all the time. Transgender people don't. You have to really go and find Trannies with Knives or other movies to find these things.
And I don't think doors should be closed on people who are transgender, but I also, without knowing, like if they told me that a very talented trans actress was turned away for the part, I'd be upset. But I don't know who came to this casting call. And I don't know how much research was put into making this right. You know, for instance, I'm pagan, and I don't need to have somebody who's also pagan playing that role, long as they know what they're talking about. I think more so for me with the trans characters, it comes down to the writers. If the character's written well.
Do you
think the character was written well?
Yeah, but it wasn't a trans. It's hard to explain.
I understand what you're saying. You want that opportunity to be given to a trans person. You're upset that.
It's Kamira. I can't hear you. Yeah, it's just, it would be maybe you can't understand because you're not on my side of the aisle. Just like I can't understand.
No, I do understand.
No. I mean, you don't.
I see what you're saying. You want them to have. You want the trans roles to be reserved for trans people because they're not getting that many good roles.
They're not, and they're really not, and they're really not.
This is where that becomes problematic, though. Say Hollywood did that. Say Hollywood made a decision from now on, all trans roles will only be given to trans people. You're going to have people on the right, on the opposite side of that, saying, well, you know what, this is a straight character. I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm not going to let anybody who's not straight play it. You know? And that's where it gets really scary, because I think if you're trans, you should have the opportunity to play anybody. But if you make that requirement for trans people can make their requirement for any role. It's not
a requirement. It's just, hey, we exist. Show the world that we exist by having us in movies. Because right now we're just some kind of thing that's off to the side. You see us once in a while walking around the mall, you point and you stare. But maybe if you had real trans people and things more that we're supposed to play straight. Like, who's doing it right? The CW's got this new trans superhero character on Supergirl. Mm-hmm. And guess what? She's a trans actress playing a trans character. Awesome. That's the kind of thing people want. They want to be able to turn on CW once in a while, not all the time.
I get that. I mean, it's just like with like black actors. You don't want somebody who's white playing somebody who's black. Yeah. You want to see, like, Black Panther. You want to see black people in really cool roles being badass. Yeah. But
for me, I think we've talked this out. I don't think either one of us are going to change our opinions.
No, I understand what you're saying, and I want to see that too. I want to see.
Yeah.
I guess what I'm trying to say is I see what you're saying, and I think you have the right to be offended.
Yeah.
And I think we do need more representation. I do want to see more trans directors. I want to see trans actors. I want to see trans. I want to see that. I want to see it done well.
We're gonna get into that in a bit. But we're getting there.
What I'm saying is that this is a step in the right direction. It's not perfect, but at least it's a well-written character. It could have been a lot worse if the character was written poorly.
Yeah, I watched an interview with Ryan Murphy, and he's patting himself on the back like he did a good job. No, good job would have been to actually do the work and actually have, okay, he had a good character, and you wrote it well, and Dennis O'Hare, he's fine. I didn't personally find him, I don't know. He him in this role didn't exactly do it for me, but I just think I think you want to take the clap on the back, then go the extra mile.
And there are people on two sides of this. There are people who are obviously not giving trans people an opportunity,
right,
and that sucks. And then there are people who are like, well, look how progressive I am. I had a trans character. It's like, okay, yeah, you did a step in the right direction, but it's not like you didn't.
Yeah.
Orange is the New Black, went a lot farther with it. But of course, I even know people who are offended by that. So. Yeah. It's touchy. It's really hard because people need representation in the trans community. They need it. There are no good characters. There are very few actors. But I do feel like compared to where we've come from Sleepaway Camp, we've come from things like that, this is a step in the right direction. A baby step, albeit, but it is a step.
Yeah. I mean, maybe. I don't know. I'm just, I don't think, I don't know. It just...
I want to segue this into the next movie.
Yes, please. I think we've pretty much covered everything.
Hopefully, I didn't offend you, though.
No, we're good.
Okay. I wasn't trying to be offensive. I'm just saying.
No. You're fine. You're totally fine. All right.
The next movie I want to talk about, and this is where it gets really interesting. Okay, so you and I watched this. You know what? I have to say, Annie, nobody has seen this movie but us. Oh my gosh!
Oh, Mr. Violator, you're awesome.
Thank you, Mr. Violator. Just gave us $10 donation. He said it's just a sticky situation. Yeah. Actors are there to make you believe Nia is a good character. Thank you so much. We really appreciate that. That's really sweet of you guys for supporting the chat, for supporting the stream.
Can we cover just one thing real quick?
What? Yeah.
Have I ever seen Dario Argento's Tenebrae? Man, that ending is fantastic.
Is it Tenebrae or Tenebrae? I always thought it was Tenebrae.
Might be. I don't know. I'm a girl from South.
Girl, you're the Italian.
Yeah. Sadly.
I mean, I'm Italian, but I know nothing about being Italian because my dad.
That ending to that movie is amazing.
I need to see that. Actually, maybe I have seen that. I don't know. I get a lot of them mixed up. But I really want to segue into Off Trannies with Nice. So when Annie and I talked about this a while ago, because I love to talk about movies, guys. I love to talk about all areas of movies, and I love to talk about stuff. And we were really looking for a movie that had actual trans people playing trans roles, and we scoured, and then we scoured. And then we scoured some more. And I found Ticked Off Trannies with Knives. And we watched it together on Rabbit, didn't we, Annie?
Oh, we most certainly did.
So Ticked Off Trannies with Knives, it's kind of like a, good night, Mr. Violator.
See you, Violator. Thank you again. Thank you so much.
And we have a new person in the chat, Christian Blanchard, so welcome. So, Ticked Off Trannies with Knives, I'm going to kind of just go over the plot really quickly. Yeah. It's basically a rape revenge movie. You have this character named Bubbles. And Bubbles, you have primarily 4 main characters. You have Bubbles, who's played by Crystal Summers, who is trans. You have Pinky, played by Calexis Davenport, who's also trans. Yep. You have Emma, who is also trans, played by Erica Anders. And then you have Rachel, who is played by a male actor, William Bell.
But if I believe correctly, he's still under he's still in the rainbow, if I believe correctly.
He's a drag performer.
Yeah, okay.
But he is not trans.
Right.
But the character's trans. However, we've got a lot of people who are trans in this movie, so I think we've got representation. Right?
Yes. And I think we need to... Oh, wait. Kitty!
Hi, Kitty!
I'm sorry. I tried to give my kitten some representation, but he ran away and he hates me.
So let's move through this. Bubbles.
Yes.
Bubbles. Oh, hi. It's Julie and the kitty.
Hi. This is Julie. This is Kittens, also known as Gilbert.
Okay.
All right.
Focus.
Okay. So.
You're as bad as a cat.
Yeah. All right. So yes, Bubbles.
So Bubbles, she's gorgeous, and
yes, she is.
She has a one-night stand with a guy who does not know that she is trans, and this person is so just hateful that he rapes her and he beats her, and then he teams up on her with like 3 of his goons, which is awful.
Yeah,
and didn't he kill one of her friends? Her friends try to...
I think 2 die in that scene.
Yeah, her friends try to help her, and I know one of them's, like, knocked out. They're all pretty badly beaten up by these people. It's horrible hate crime, rape scene. And then... I'm going to skip over some stuff because this movie's not... It's got issues. But Bubbles recovers, and then they develop a plan to get revenge. And that's... Essentially, we're going to talk about Assassination soon. Christian, if you want to look in the description, we have a whole list of the movies we're going to talk about, but we're getting to the Assassination Nation. But, they develop a plan to get revenge against this guy and his friends.
Right. Yeah.
So, clearly these characters are trans, right? Do we even need to discuss that?
No, they're all trans.
They're all trans. Now we should get into what influence this movie has.
Let's just talk about the part of the movie. Okay, so this movie takes itself almost a little serious, not too serious, in the beginning of the movie. And there's that brutal scene, people are dying, and then we're like, okay, they're gonna do something cool here. And then there's a weird sequence where they meet a guy in the woods and he teaches them karate, and
they go to, like, a weird, like, retreat, and they're all wearing kimonos,
and we're just staring at each other saying, I hope to God this is a dream sequence.
Fuck? And
it's
not.
It's not a dream sequence.
They're making fart jokes. Honestly, for me, the most offensive part of this movie is the way rape is treated.
Yeah, that whole scene ends in a fart joke. That's all that's set up
and
for.
Rape is horrible. And that was tonally, it was awful. And then Bubbles also has a lisp afterwards, from
and that's dropped,
injuries.
And it's like you were doing something different here, and you hooked us in.
It had opportunity to do so much good, and then it shit the bed.
Yeah, and I'm just like, are you fucking kidding me? You this is, and then it picks back up to where, okay, now we're back to being serious again for a minute. You can't.
Yeah, the tone is all over the place. It goes from being really campy and funny to being really uncomfortably serious. And it's like, you need to figure out, is this going to be like Last House on the Left serious? Actually, Last House on the Left's a bad example because there's some campy stuff in there too. But is this going to be like... Pop? Yeah, is this going to be like a serious movie where we're going to really discuss issues here? Or is this going to be a camp fest?
Yeah.
And it never really makes up its mind.
They had a chance. They dropped the ball. And the only reason we're talking about it is because it offended us both at the same time.
Yeah, as a woman, and as somebody, just the fact that rape was treated like
Yeah.
just a plot point, just almost like a joke, I found that really offensive because, I mean, as a woman, I can watch trans characters and identify with them because they are women, you know, just like I can, you know, identify with you, you know. We're women and we know what it feels like to be violated, and I was with that character. I was with these characters. I wanted them to get their revenge.
Yeah.
And then they made a joke out of it, and that, for me, was really offensive.
And then even the revenge at the end, where they're sticking the shit up the asses and don't fart because you'll make the gun go off. Really? This is where you're going with this?
Mm-hmm.
Why? Why, when you had the chance to do something, did you have to just go to the opposite direction? You had a chance. Yeah,
it's a shame because many of these actors, not all of them, but most of, like, there's one actress in this, who's really funny, but they're talented.
Yeah.
But the script is shit. The script is shit. The direction's shit.
I mean, clearly they had fun making it. Let's give that to them.
Yeah, they had fun.
They all look like they were having a blast.
Should they be having that much fun with a rape movie?
No, you should not. You should. I can't imagine on the set of, you know, I Spit on Your Grave. They're giggling.
No, it should be uncomfortable. Like we said earlier, horror should make you uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It shouldn't have a fart joke in it.
They call her One Eye and they're all giggling. No, I didn't see that happening. You know, but oh, real quick, Gory, I sent you a message like 30 minutes ago on Facebook. Could you just check it real quick? It's nothing too important, but I think it might be a good idea.
All right, got it.
All right, cool. All right, I mean, that's just a good way to round up everything, I think, if we do that. Okay. All right, yeah, so, I mean, the movie, is it offensive? Yes. To trans people, not so much.
It's offensive to just women.
Yeah, and filmmaking in general.
It's offensive to anybody who has been violated like that.
Yeah.
It's offensive to rape survivors, especially.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it's not a good movie.
I think it is offensive to trans people because it's like, this kind of movie, I hate to say it, this kind of movie is why, a big part of why I think some trans people may not be able to get work, because you can't do a movie like this and then get a good role like American Horror Story. I'm sorry, this is on your resume. They're not going to see you, and it's not because you're trans, it's because you were in this crap fest.
I mean, Crystal Summers, if I believe correctly, it's been a few months. Bubbles was kind of attractive. She was pretty. Or it might have been Pinky, or one of them was really gorgeous.
Bubbles is really pretty.
Yeah.
And she does have an upcoming movie in 2019. It's about a pill that's used to basically take the gay away. And it goes wrong and turns them in. It doesn't sound like it's going to be good, but it's called Kicking Zombie Ass for Jesus, and it comes out this year.
I mean, clearly they're going for I kick ass for the Lord. That line from Dead Alive, but whatever. Yeah,
I just feel like the work they're doing is setting trans people back more than it's helping them.
They need to stop.
They really do.
First off, they need to learn how to tell a story. Then they need to learn how to make a film. Then they need to learn how to write a character, and then maybe someday they can start writing complicated characters. Because right now, they're just failing on every aspect. This movie, I was kind of excited to see this, and once that dream sequence came in, because I mean they all had banter in the beginning. I mean the pre-rape scene, they all had banter. They're all friendly. They're all having a good time, and you know, what was that? What did he just see?
I think he saw. I had a window. The way my OBS is set up is one of my windows is opening up over your Skype thing, so he saw a flash of the live control room for the stream.
Oh, all right.
All right, I got it.
So you know, I think this movie should be forgotten about.
I agree, and I just think that I really want these actresses to get good work, but I feel like the work they're doing, I know they think they're helping. I don't think they're helping.
Yeah. All right.
It's just like one thing, kind of, I have my best friend, you know, her husband and her son are little people, and that's another community that deals with a lot of prejudice. And
a lot, yeah.
Unfortunately, in the film world, most of the jobs for little people are comedic, and a lot of them take those roles when, you know, we've got good roles now, like Game of Thrones has a great role. but a lot of them are comedic, and they take those roles to get work. Yeah. But I think sometimes when you're trying to help progression, trying to help, change the tide of things, especially if you're in that position, like if you're trans and you're trying to improve, movies for trans people, I think you got to be really choosy about the roles you pick, especially because, you represent that community.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I just, like you, I think this is a movie that's best forgotten. I didn't enjoy it.
No, it's trash.
Okay. Well, we're doing so good. We're just moving along. Oops. That's the wrong window, too. Okay. Wow, we finally made it. So we're down to our last movie, and then we got a couple other things we're going to talk about, too, here at the end.
Yeah.
So this is a movie I saw very recently, Assassination Nation.
And I saw it today, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, I loved it. But we're not to that part yet. Let's start with explaining what it's about. So Assassination Nation is not a straight-up horror movie, but it's violent enough that I think it can be part of the conversation.
Yeah. I'll call it at least a rape. It's not quite a rape revenge, but it's along those lines, more or less, give or take, add or subtract.
Does Julie just want to join us? She can sit down and join us.
No, she's painting. She's in her own world. Jules, she can't even hear me.
All right.
Would you like to? Nothing, boo.
Well, this is important, so let's focus.
Yes.
Okay, so Assassination Nation. It's about a town where there's a hacker, and this hacker is getting into people's phones and such and finding, things that would embarrass them, things that would get them in trouble, like if that person's cheating or whatever. They're new.
I'm here, I'm listening. I'm focused.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I live with a child. I'm ready. Let's go.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Hold on. I lost my train of thought.
Sorry, hon.
Okay, so Assassination Nation, there's this hacker, and this hacker, like, an example is they take the mayor, and the mayor has done some, cross-dressing in women's lingerie, and this hacker posts them for everybody to see. So the mayor is humiliated, the mayor has to resign.
Yep.
Then he does it with the principal has pictures of his daughter, like, naked in a bath, which are probably just innocent, but they're plastered for everyone to see, and gets tons of hate, and he, also is told he has to resign. Well, then this hacker does it to half of their town. So one example is the main character in this, she does have a boyfriend, Bill Skarsgård, but she is having an affair with the dad across the street, and that affair is found out through the hacker revealing everybody's conversations and such. Then they get a hold of a guy who's really interested in this whole thing, and he says that the person with the most bandwidth being used right now is that main character, and he believes that she is the one who is the hacker. Right. So the cops are so upset because so many of them have been hacked too. He basically just calls, like, full-out war on this girl and her friends. And so everyone in town, it's like the fucking purge. They're trying to hurt these girls. Now, that's the plot. The character we're talking about today, and I think so many things are just done right with this. One, I think one of the best ways to, progress as a community is when a character is just treated as a normal person, Yeah. And the character, Bex, she's trans. She's treated just like one of the girls.
Yep.
She's not the main character. The whole movie isn't about trans issues, about other stuff, and I think that is really well done. She's just treated like part of the group, and that's she's the best representation. She's also really a trans woman, which is awesome, and she's gorgeous.
Yeah.
So she's played by Hari Neff, who is also, a trans model.
Yep.
And I love Bex. Bex is great. She's got sass. She's amazing.
She was fantastic. First off, transgender woman, fantastic. I mean, unfortunately, I wasn't a fan of this movie. And it had nothing to do with Bex. I thought Bex was great. She had a good arc. I think they actually handled something very innocently. Not innocently, but very subtly. Bex sleeps with Diamond, I think his name was. And for a second, like, she's having such a great time. And then she realized that he's going to be embarrassed by her the next day. And
I didn't
very
get that
subtle, he's
from
like,
it.
huh?
I didn't get that from it.
I kind of did. Because
the way
like,
I got it was this guy's like actually puts an eyeball fucking her at a party.
Right.
And this guy and her go to a bedroom, and she's trying to warn him that she's trans, so he doesn't freak out. And he's like, "You're perfect, just the way you are." He doesn't care. He obviously is aware that she's trans, and they have sex. Then Bex is upset because he does the typical douchebag guy thing where he just walks away and makes her feel like she's just been used.
I don't know. I felt it was kind of more like, because he's just like, I'll see you at home ec or where, I'll see you in bio or something.
I think that's just a douchebag teenager thing.
Yeah,
it has nothing to do with
know.
him. I don't think he's transphobic at all.
No, neither did I, but I think he was questioning shit, which is fine. I think he was being a douchebag. I think.
But don't we see that with guys in teen movies all the time, where they sleep with a girl and then they just kind of, are an ass afterwards?
Yeah, but I don't know. Maybe I'm reading into it. Maybe I'm giving it its own credit. But again, it's art, so I'm interpreting it this way.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't see it that way, but I can see how it can be interpreted.
Yeah, because then she's crying and
I think she just feels stupid that she slept with him because she feels used. I mean, regardless of why he did it.
Yeah. And I felt that was like a really good moment for her. She had some great character moments. The movie for me, like I said, I didn't like it. I'm sorry, Christian, I did not like this film.
Well, we're gonna get to that at the end because.
But she was fantastic. I have no complaints.
What happens with Bex that I think is really important? So Bex, like we said, she has this thing at a party with a guy. The guy ignores her. He kind of tries to loosely try to patch it up the next day. He's like, "You look good today." And she's like, "Obviously, I fucking love her. She's amazing."
Oh, you know what? I didn't even know that was Diamond. I just thought that was some rando saying.
No, that's why she goes to her friend, like just like you do when you see a guy that you just slept with at a party, and she's like, "Oh, great," and her friend's just like, "Calm down, just don't let him get to you. Just you got this." And then he tries to kind of half-heartedly make it better. Well, this is where it gets complicated, because in the movie, like I said, everybody is hacked, right? Yeah. And his friends, who are very homophobic and transphobic, and, I think you're right. Maybe that's why he did compliment her the next day. Maybe it was because he's like, yeah, I'm just going to have sex with her and leave her. Maybe it is because she's trans. But I think it's, like you said, it's mostly because he's worried about what his friends are going to say.
Yeah.
Because it's just like a lot of guys in high school. It's all about like, like those movies where the guy will like, bone the unpopular girl or the girl who's a goth or something, but they don't want their friends to find out. I think it's kind of like that.
I will say this: their friends are homophobic and terrible, but they don't misgender her.
That's true. But his friends, Diamond's friends find out. That's his name, right? Diamond. His friends find out that he slept with Bex. Yeah. And oddly enough, they don't go after Bex. They hate crime Diamond. They beat the ever-loving shit out of him. Yeah. And that's the most we really deal with the trans issues straight on. From there, Bex is with her friends who, now that war has been declared on the main girl, it's also her friends. Like, one of her friends, like her mom, I think it's like flat out killed. Yeah. And Bex is a badass. House, She picks up a shotgun and she's like ready to just go. Yeah. What do you want? Hold on, my dog wants something.
Oh, and you complain about me when my kittens come snoozing around me.
I complain about you when you get distracted. Yeah. But Christian, I love this movie.
Have you seen my girlfriend? I mean, she's worth being distracted about. Let's be fair.
This is true. My husband does many of the same things, but my dogs are very distracted.
You have a door though. I'm in the middle of the living room.
So, Christian, talking about the movie, I loved this movie. This movie is balls to the wall insanity. It's crazy action. It's very exploitation. And I felt like they handled the trans issues very well. I loved Beck. She was my favorite character in this movie. I was just like, wow. I stumbled on this by accident. I watched tons of movies to research. You certainly did, yeah. I watched tons of movies to research for this stream, and because we have the horror awards, the Oscars coming up, I was watching a lot of 2018 movies. And this one got nominated by a lot of people for like script and stuff. And I'm watching, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a trans character. And it's exactly what we wanted. And I wasn't even looking for it, for that. I was pleasantly surprised.
So for the movie, for me, I thought it was kind of pretentious. The narrating I felt was kind of annoying. I didn't like any of the characters outside of Bex, and maybe that's just because I still thought she was an annoying teenage girl. I would have preferred, I think it would have been interesting if the movie was about her plot. Like, there's a hack, and people find out that she banged one, like the star quarterback. And then I would have, that subplot of her being attacked, I think could have been its own movie and been a really badass movie.
I think so, but like I said, I think that it was handled perfectly, because then, you know what, the whole movie comes about trans stuff, and the best way to get people to accept it as it's normal is to treat it like it's normal.
Yeah, no, it's just the rest of
the fact
stuff.
that she's not the main character, I think, made it like normal, you know, like, yes, accept the fact that there are trans people and they have lives just like everybody else. I thought it was done really well.
The movie was just, I didn't particularly care about any of the characters.
Like, I'm always trying to
the musical montages really took me. There were many scenes where it's just people doing stuff to, like, techno music.
But I get you don't like the movie, but the representation is good,
She was great. I have no complaints. She's awesome.
And that's why we're discussing the movie.
That's why but we are saying whether we like the movie and maybe why.
Yeah.
Or not. But yeah, no, she was great. I mean, if you're if somebody was like, hey, you know, I wish I could see a movie with a good trans character, or a horror movie, or an action movie, and say, hey, this movie's not for everybody. I didn't like it, but this character might be what you're looking for.
And I think what made me really happy about this is, like I said, we're doing the Oscars. People nominated. We collected nominations through social media, through Facebook, Twitter. This was nominated by a ton of people. Somebody nominated Bex for Best Final Girl, even though she's one of 4.
Yeah,
people nominated this. A lot of people nominated this for Best Screenplay. The fact that it's a movie that has been well received. Like, what I love about this is it's been well received. It got good ratings. People largely overall, this movie's gotten positive ratings. It has a trans character in it, and yet I never heard about it having a trans character in it. That wasn't the buzz about this movie.
I remember an article like early, because when you sent it, when you sent me that when we were talking about it, I remembered. Some people were talking about this a while ago. Look, if this girl doesn't, I'll be shocked if she doesn't get better roles. Because she's
gonna get
actress.
Great roles. But what I'm trying to say is this movie isn't popular or famous because of the trans issues. It's because it's a good movie. And the fact that it has good representation is really great for the trans community, because that means this actress is going to get better roles. She's going to get good roles written for her. That means there's going to be more opportunities for other trans people.
I hate the ending of this movie. Yeah, I mean, look, my
But what do you think about that? Like what I just said?
Yeah, I agree. I don't know why it's getting received so well, because frankly, like I said, I didn't like it. But she's great. I thought she was a fantastic actress. I really hope she gets more work. I would love to see this girl in a straight-up slasher movie where she's just a girl and they don't have to keep talking about her sexuality or what's between her legs.
I didn't feel like they did talk about it a lot.
No, they didn't. No, I'm not saying she didn't, but I would love
I didn't even know she was trans until the party scene, because her girlfriends don't treat her as anything other than one of the girls, which was perfect.
No, not at all. No, I just meant, like, I'd love to see her in a real horror movie. That's a straight-up horror movie.
I'd love to see her be a final girl in a slasher movie.
Yeah, that's what I want. I want a final girl that's allowed to be a final girl that can, which ties to the end, more or less.
But I think, for me, this is the biggest step in exactly the direction we want for trans characters in horror.
I agree. I didn't like the movie. I thought the character was great. I thought they did a really good job with her, and I was pleasantly surprised with Bex.
I loved the movie, but I think, also just for the trans community, I think it's done a lot of things right. It deals with a lot of other stuff too, just other issues with women, which I don't want to go into too much because this is a trans women of horror stream, but like the girl who is having an affair with the guy across the street, she's the one shamed for that. Yeah. They both had sex. Or they're both, I don't actually know, they hadn't had sex yet. They're both texting each other, but she's the one treated like a slut.
Yeah.
And that's something that women deal with all the fucking time.
This is off topic, but you've seen it, so maybe. Why did he have all that gear?
What gear?
Her boyfriend or daddy, he had like samurai swords and like what? Did they ever explain that? Did I miss something?
I think she's not keen to the fact that he's bent, because you end up finding out that the guy who was at the rally saying that we need to fucking kill them and getting everybody all riled up to go after the main character, that's him in disguise.
Okay.
she doesn't know him. She hasn't actually had sex with him. She just knows that, from her point of view, he's the hot dad across the street. I don't think she knows that he's kind of twisted. And he even attempts to rape her at one point. I don't think she's a naive high school girl, and I don't think she realizes how scary this individual she has been talking to is. Yeah. She's just looking for an escape because she's not happy with her boyfriend.
She goes in one room and there's just like a whole arsenal there, and I'm like, that's cat's out of left.
There are also people who collect shit like that. I mean, I don't know for sure. The movie doesn't go into a lot of details about it, but I like that it leaves a lot of gray area for discussion. Yeah.
All right. So, I think we covered this movie pretty good. It's good.
Yeah, I think that's good. Speaking of Final Girl in a horror movie, there is a filmmaker, and I did share this on like Facebook and stuff, but there's a filmmaker, his production company is Mad Sin Cinema. The filmmaker is Shane Ryan, and he's trying to do a lot more trans movies, not just horror. Like, there's been an article by like Bloody Disgusting saying a lot of trans horror films in the work. He's actually only got one trans horror film in the works. And his lead performer is artist Lilith Singston. She's also known as Tobias Bristol. She's transitioned, and then now she's more gender fluid. But she does have a GoFundMe page for her work. They are working on a movie called Half Breed. Now, I've talked to him about this because I've actually contacted him. There's a link in the chat to the GoFundMe if you want to check out Lilith Tobias's page. But they want to do a horror movie called Half Breed, and all I know about it is this artist will be portraying a final girl, and he says he can't really talk about it much more than that because they're still in the writing phase. And certainly I will keep you guys updated on that because I do think this is interesting, and I really hope it's good. I have seen some of his other films, and they are good. So I feel like there's an opportunity for this to be awesome. But yeah, I couldn't get a whole lot of information about it, but I definitely think movies like Assassination Nation have opened up some doors that I think previously had been slammed on some talented people's faces.
Yeah, definitely.
So, 100%. I mean, here's the thing with horror movies. My biggest complaint, and I'm all for disagreeing with people, there is nothing that I'm not afraid to talk about. But the one thing I get really tired of as a horror fan is having people tell me all horror movies are the fucking same. They're mindless entertainment. And that's not true. You know, for me, horror is the one genre that continually surprises me, that continually, at least a couple times a year, I see something and I'm like, I haven't fucking seen that before. Assassination showed me something I hadn't fucking seen before. And I love that. And I think we're discovering some new opportunities all the time to tell new stories. And part of it's through introducing new talent and introducing new characters. And I'm excited because I think we're definitely going in the right direction.
Yeah, so do I. I changed. You know, I think you're right. We're going. Assassination Nation was a step in the right direction, no doubt.
But yeah, you don't have to like it. Like, I've watched tons of movies where I'm like, yes, it's a good movie, but I don't like it, and that's my fucking prerogative. You know, a movie everyone loved last year, fucking fight me. I hated Mandy. I fucking hated it. It took me 3 tries to get through it. It wasn't for me. It's beautifully, beautifully shot, and I love Nicolas Cage. It wasn't for me, but I'm gonna not tell you guys it was a bad movie. It was brilliantly done. It just wasn't for me. You know?
Yeah. Agree.
And the thing I loved most about Mandy, even though I didn't really like the movie, I loved that it had non-traditional characters in it. I loved that they had not teenagers like they originally planned for that movie. They had people in their 30s and 40s, and I love that. So, I think we can even look at movies we don't like necessarily and see how they are. And definitely Mandy told us a story I had never seen before, and I love it for that, too.
Yeah.
Even though I didn't like the movie. And I think, you know, for you don't like Assassination Nation, but I think it's the same thing probably for you.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to like it. But
I thought it did a better job than any movie that's come before it. Let me put it that way.
And I'm just excited for maybe the next movie. And I also just love all the marketing. Like, I've seen, you know, Hari Neff, who played Bex, like, you know, in interviews and stuff. And I love that from what I've seen so far, she's being treated well. You know, people are being respectful towards her, and I just that gives me hope. Especially because, like I said, when we did this stream, I didn't think it was going to be controversial. I thought it was just another topic to discuss, and unfortunately, we did get some, you know, backlash. Not a whole lot, but you know, any backlash always sucks. People telling us that we should just, shut up and review horror movies, and people who didn't want us to discuss this topic, and that kind of made me feel a bit down. And this movie, I don't know, it gives me hope. So you sent me a message.
Yes, I did indeed.
And
I think that would be a good way to tie up things before we do anything fun.
Your message to me was, you don't mind me reading it, right?
No.
Final thoughts on horror. Is it transphobic as a genre or harmful to transgenderism?
Yes, that's what I had. Why don't you go first and then I'll give my thoughts.
Well, I feel like you're the expert here, so why don't you go first?
Okay.
I can give my thoughts as an outsider, but this affects you personally and this affects you daily, and I think most of the people want to hear your thoughts on this, not mine.
God forbid somebody wants to hear my thoughts. Holy shit.
You have great thoughts. And also, I want to remind you guys again, in the card above is a link to Annie's channel.
Yes,
it's
I need the subscription.
Awesome and fun, and she watches tons of crazy videos on the internet, and it's just hilarious. So definitely check that out.
Okay. Past transgender, past horror movies, yeah, they might have been slightly insane. But so we got to look at it this way. Horror, what is horror? It's not supposed to be PC. It's not supposed to be nice. It's not supposed to be friendly. It's supposed to make you uncomfortable. But there are limits to that. Can it be? Yes. Is it? Not inherently. Not inherently.
I feel good that you said that because I was nervous.
Not inherently. Horror is horror. It's not the genre. I love horror. You love horror. Mike loves horror. Everybody. That's why we're here, because we love horror movies. So no, it's not in of itself.
You just want to see people like you represented in it more.
Can it be insensitive? Yes.
Absolutely.
But am I hopeful for the future of horror? Yeah. I think change happens, and it takes a while, and it's not easy. I think we'll get where I want to be. I think it's going to take some courageous, ballsy moves from some ballsy people to do some ballsy things. No pun intended.
People are going to have to take some risks, and they're going to have to block out some of the negative voices.
And I think we'll get there. But why do I think I think it'll be more in horror than anywhere else, because horror again is not apologetic. It's not PC.
And that's what we love about it, and we don't want that to go away.
No, we can take, but they can take that risk and have the transgender. If they want to take the risk, if a filmmaker wants to take the risk, they can get away with it because that's what horror is. Horror is about taking risks and about doing things that no one else in other genres really want to do, because they're there to make money. Horror's there to scare you and make money, but more or less, that's horror's one goal. Is it getting better? Yeah, it's getting better. It's going to take time. Represented properly, indeed. I want to see more trans actors because they're out there and they're great. I'm sure there's really good ones, and it is getting better. I might have sounded frustrated and bitter, but you got to remember my side of the coin, and that's just the way that I've been conditioned, because people in power will let you down from time to time. I just got to remember, like I said, horror in of itself is great, and it is not, like I said, it may be insensitive, but I don't think it's transphobic. So that's my thoughts.
I have to agree. I think this is a topic I would like to see more, like scholars and stuff tackle. One of my favorite books about just women in horror is Men, Women, and Chainsaws, and that book was pivotal in changing the way people saw horror movies, because at the time the book was initially written, she's added to it since, people thought that only guys liked horror movies, and guys liked horror movies because they liked to identify with the killer, and they enjoyed the thrill of rape and murder. And this woman countered, and she went to movies, and she researched, and she talked to horror fans, and she realized that these people that were being treated like criminals, they were empathizing with the women. And that women were going to horror movies too, that it wasn't just a boys' club. And that book did a lot for changing the way horror movies were viewed, for, because movies are constantly being called misogynistic and anti-feminist. And I think there are some movies that are insensitive towards women, but largely I think that's not the case. And I think the same issue is happening right now with transgender individuals in horror. And I really hope that, we get a book maybe like that, or some people writing some papers and stuff and exploring it like we've done with women in horror for the last couple decades.
You know, in the end, it comes down to this. People will watch and relate to movies because in the end, people are people, right? We all have the same feelings. We all have the same fears. You know, no matter what's between our legs, we all have the same fears, and we all can relate on the human levels. And I think that's why, in the end, we'll see more representation.
Yeah, I think that's great too, because it also, the more we see, you know, more positive depictions of trans people in horror, or in any movies really, people realize that's a person that I'm relating to right now. They are human, just like I am, you know, and I think that is part of what,
we're all
you know,
people, Corey. We're all people.
Yeah, that's part of how movies can help improve the culture.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
all right,
it ain't perfect,
we did it.
But I think we did it.
We made it through somehow.
Somehow we made it through.
Yeah.
Spectre of the Macabre said it would be awesome if someone did what George Romero did with Night of the Living Dead, having a strong character that was a minority and not having it be the main focus. Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, Assassination Nation did that, and I think
they did it pretty good. I think
we need to see more of that. I
mean, that wasn't a straight up horror movie. Like, you know, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I would like, you know, let's have a zombie
perfect
movie.
representation, but.
No, she was great.
I mean, as far as it being a horror movie, like I want to see something more horror now with the same trans representation, same women representation, even. You know, I just love the not to sound like a Spice Girl, but I love the girl power of that fucking movie.
Yeah, you know, take that girl, that actress, put her in Night of the Living Dead, or you know, a zombie movie, and let her kick ass. Yeah, I'm all for that.
I want to see her take a leading role in something.
Yeah.
I think she can do it.
I think she was by far the best character of that movie.
Oh, absolutely. And I know we're not alone in that, because a lot of people nominated that actress for the Oscars. And people have been mentioning her in the chat, too, that she was their favorite character.
Yeah,
she's really cool.
She is by far. All right.
Really cool. So, now do you want to play a game?
So in Zombie 2,
oh my fucking god, Annie!
In Zombie 2, there's a zombie, and he's in the water, and he's fighting a shark, and he bites the shark. So I have a question for the chat. I need answers now. Does the shark become a zombie shark, or does he just die and become a dead shark? These are questions that need to be answered.
I think it depends, because in some zombie movies, dogs can get the virus and be zombies, like in Resident Evil, and in some of them, they're completely unaffected. So, do we see any animals who are turned in the Fulci movie?
No.
I don't think so. So, I'm going to say just dies. Like I told you, I think I commented on your stream where you talked about this.
Yeah,
I wanted that fight to end with, like, the Meg coming around and eating them both.
That would have been great.
That would have been fantastic. Why wasn't that in the Meg? They could have redone that whole scene.
Yeah, I agree. But no. So what did we want to do as a zombie shark for sure? Yeah, zombie shark. What did we want to do to kind of just break the tension, have a little fun at the end of the night? What was it?
I think our plan was we were going to do a who would win, like hypothetical death battle between some of the characters we've discussed.
Okay, we could do that.
Like Angela versus Norman Bates. Who would win?
Angela. Wait, which Angela?
Why?
Which version of Angela are we talking about?
Let's go with Pamela Springsteen, just because she's a lot more brutal than the other one.
Than Norman Bates, because she'd go and stay at his hotel, and then he'd kill her.
Yeah, I'm going to say Angela. She's just a little more creative, and Norman's a nice guy, and he kind of battles with Mother a bit, though I think at the end she's fully overtaken him.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, he's still either a really skinny nice guy or an old lady, so I think Angela's got it.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, either way, he's not that imposing, is he?
Exactly. Let us know in the chat, what other battles would you like to see? So, you pick the next one.
Okay. Buffalo Bill or
versus.
I'm gonna go with little girl Angela.
Little girl. Oh God. I actually don't think he would go after her because he needs.
No, you're right. But for some reason,
bigger women.
But for some reason, they're walking. He's walking around and he gets kidnapped and thrown into a gladiator pit. And little Angela is across from him, and they have two knives. Who's going to win?
Okay, here's the thing. I actually just figured it out. I think Angela would win. And this is
really?
Why. One, Buffalo Bill is extremely arrogant. Extremely. Okay. I think he would underestimate her. And Angela is always really observant to everything that's going on around her. I think she would suss out that this guy was dangerous from the start because she thinks everybody is dangerous.
Right.
And I think he'd underestimate her. I think he'd turn his back, and then I think she would decapitate him. She would, like, monkey up onto his back or something.
Or she'd stick a fucking...
She'd do, like, the Toni Collette thing with, like, razor wire and be like... and, like, cut off his head.
Or she'd shove
the lotion down his throat.
Buckle.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's brutal. She don't play around. Alright, your turn.
Just characters we discussed, or any characters? Because someone wants to know about Pennywise versus the Creeper.
Well, let's do that one. Let's talk about Pennywise versus... All right, we're getting a bunch here. All right, Gory, would you let me use the little girl's room one last time, and we'll do a couple rounds of this?
Sure.
All right, thank you very much. I shall return like Gandalf the Grey. Hold on.
She left me. She left us. She left us. So let me know in the chat, how are you guys doing? We got some more suggestions. Jerks Productions suggested American Mary versus Herbert West. I'll wait for Annie to come back and we'll because we've been discussing so many big things. So I think we'll just have a little bit of fun before we call it a night. But hopefully you guys have been enjoying the discussion. Thank you guys all for just being a great chat, for being just really respectful, having a lot of good questions. Yeah, you know, because it can be tricky talking about issues that are controversial, but I think you guys were awesome, and we're thankfully very easy to talk to. Yeah, so let me know how you guys are doing. Christian said, hearing Gory talk about Toni Collette and Hereditary triggers me because I'm still mad that movie got no recognition at all for the big awards show. We do have the Oscars, which you guys nominated through social media, and we're having our Academy of Horror voting on. I'll tell you right now, Toni Collette did get nominated for Best Actress at the Oscars, and Hereditary got nominated for a ton of awards. So
maybe an hour. Go to bed, hon. I'm sorry, please.
Are you okay? Do you need to go?
Yeah, no, I'm good. I was just... now, are you going to have presenters on this here event?
Yes. But there's not a lot of awards, so Danny picked the presenters for it, but...
Oh, yeah. So Danny didn't pick me. I hate him, though. He's now on my poop list.
Well, there's not a whole lot of awards. We did invite you to the Academy of Horror, which we didn't pick a lot of people for that either.
Oh, what's that? When did
the people who got a vote?
Oh, yeah, thank you for that. I did. I voted, too.
But, yeah, you know, like, last year, Ivan wasn't on it, and he wanted to be, so we had him on this year. So just let me know, and you can do it next year.
Gory B Movie versus the zombie gopher monster. What the hell are you talking about?
I think they mean me versus a zombie gopher monster? I don't even know, dude.
I'm going to go with the zombie gopher.
I'm going to go with me.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know.
I'm like wild card, yo. You don't know what I'm going to do.
All right, so let's just let the chat pick. Well, okay,
They picked Pennywise versus Creeper. That was suggested by Brandon Meacham.
Yeah, so Brandon, why don't you go first with that, unless you already gave your answer.
That's a tough one, because they're both very supernatural. See, Pennywise is also like a alien creature, like a multi-dimensional creature. But Pennywise needs fear, and I don't know if the Creeper could supply, and there are times they'd have to line up right, because they both only come back after a certain amount of time.
26 years. 23 years, something like that, for the Creeper.
Yeah, and then the Creeper, he has wings, he has claws. But then Pennywise can just do crazy random shit and just turn into anything. Yeah. I mean, Pennywise could even turn into a Creeper. So I think Pennywise has a little more range to be just nuts. So I'm going to say Pennywise.
I'm going to... Now, the Creeper wasn't my favorite. I think he's kind of boring, but I think... If Pennywise fucked him up, you could just go eat some random kid or something, you know. So, you know, and then get, because he regenerates when he eats people. Killjoy versus Pennywise. Pennywise, no doubt.
Yeah, definitely Pennywise. If you've seen our reviews of the Killjoy movies, Killjoy, I don't know, he gets better with each movie, though. He does. He does get better with each movie.
Here's one that I don't know how you came up with this. Killer Clowns from Outer Space vs. Children of the Corn. I want to see that movie now.
I just want to see that, yeah.
Yeah. Gory, please, your thoughts. Intelligent thoughts.
Killer Clowns, dude. Because they would lure the children in with, like, the cotton candy and stuff, and then boom! Crazy cult children are dead.
Yeah, but Isaac and Malachi, they know he who walks behind the rose, and you don't want to fuck with him.
This is true, but Killer Clowns have cotton candy cocoons.
Yeah, that's true. Who's going to turn down cotton candy?
Nobody. Cotton candy's amazing. Yeah, I love Trent Haga. Trent Haga is also a filmmaker, and he did a really good movie last year that he wrote and directed called 68 Kill, which I highly recommend, especially if you like movies like Assassination Nation that are very, like, exploitation films. Absolutely, I think you need to check that out. And they're also talking a lot about how, like, horror's been snubbed at the Oscars and stuff.
It has been.
That's why we're doing our own award show, because I'm always disappointed by the Oscars. But yeah, I mean, things were looking good last year when Get Out was nominated for some stuff. But this year, horror got snubbed hard.
Toxic Avenger vs. Swamp Thing.
That's a tough one.
Yeah, that's tough. Well, I got to go with Toxie because he's New Jersey's first superhero. So that's my call because, you know, I'm from Jersey, so.
I don't know, but Swamp Thing's part of the Marvel Universe, so...
No, he's in Swamp Thing, yeah. No, DC. He's part of the DC Universe.
I thought Man-Thing. Was it Man-Thing in the DC Universe? Or are we getting mixed up?
Man-Thing's Marvel, Swamp Thing's DC.
Okay, well, he's in the DC Universe, so if he gets backup, Swamp Thing, but otherwise Toxie.
Yeah.
Outlander?
Chucky versus... Chucky or Annabelle? I'm going to go with Chucky.
Chucky 100%. Well, Annabelle doesn't even move.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. It's DC. My bad. I always get Swamp Thing and Man-Thing's universes mixed up.
Dave Maggot versus Gory B Movie. This is a battle for the ages.
What? Who said that?
I agree. The person in the chat. That Annie person posted it moments ago.
That's horrible.
Yeah, you didn't see it. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Dave Maggot.
Okay, is this a death battle or guess that horror tune?
No, this is like to the death.
I could never hurt Dave Maggot, or maybe I could. Maybe he's just so cute that you could just eat him all up, like cannibal style.
What if he just kept beating you in all contests of knowledge? Like, wouldn't that, that would really, what if it was a battle, what if you and him had to play Tiddlywinks? Because, Dave's a master of Tiddlywinks. Chucky versus Leprechaun.
You would win at all the games. It'd be like, when you're supposed to challenge, the Grim Reaper to a board game. Yeah. I'd be the Grim Reaper in this scenario, and he'd just freaking beat me.
Oh, here we go. This is a good one. Before Jerk's prediction.
Vincent Price versus Peter Cushing?
Yeah.
See, I've had this question asked to me before in the Vincent Price tag, and it was the two of them versus Christopher Lee. And my thought, this is my answer to that one, is Peter Cushing, since he's bested Christopher Lee before, he would take him out. Yeah. And then just as he's celebrating his big win, Vincent Price, since he's a sneaky motherfucker, would be going in to congratulate him, and then he'd stab him in the back, and then Vincent Price would win.
I think Peter Cushing would win because he's fucking bad the fuck ass.
He is pretty badass, but I gotta stick with my boy Price.
What about Lols versus Damien? That's a good question, Zachary.
Lols.
Why?
Lols is OP. We don't know the full extent of Lols' powers.
Yeah, well, give us a little hint of what some of Lols' powers are.
Damien in the second one, in the movie Damien, he's like a whiny little brat, and he's like, oh, I'm the son of the devil. Lols has never been like, oh, I'm half demon, Lols doesn't, get all emo about shit. And then he's Sam Neill, Jurassic Park guy in part 3. Yeah, fuck that shit. Lols has got this in the bag.
I'm curious, Christian, what are the circumstances that make John Carpenter and Wes Craven battle to the death.
Can't they just be friends?
Yeah, I mean, like, are they at a convention? Well, Mr. Craven's no longer with us, but would they have been at a convention and, like, Wes has just more people in line and John can't take it anymore? It just cracks him in the face. I mean, how does that happen? But I would say that John Carpenter would win because John Carpenter, has better movies.
Oh, God, Doc said in the battle of Gory versus Day, the loser has to do a nice review of #horror. Screw that noise.
Did you ever see that movie, Gory?
I hate that movie. That is my most hated movie of all time.
That was so bad.
It's so bad.
I rented that too, so it was like $3.99.
It has like Bedazzled going on the screen and stuff. Oh God, it's so bad. It's so bad.
What? Who thought that was going to be a good idea?
I don't know, but it's gonna be the worst movie I've ever seen in my life. Like not even just horror movies. That's just gonna be the worst movie I've ever seen.
I don't know. I've seen worse.
Dude, but I don't want to see worse than that because that just sounds awful.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, you said you wanted it to go 3 hours, and we're coming up on 3 hours.
Yeah, and I'm getting pretty tired, and we talked about a lot of stuff, dude.
Yeah, we did.
We talked about a lot of stuff. We covered a lot of movies. It's probably the most movies I think I've covered in a stream of this variety. But I think we did good. Do you think we did? Was it a good discussion?
Yeah, I think it was good.
The chat was great, weren't they?
Yeah.
Give it up for the chat.
I think it was good. I think the chat was nice, and hopefully some peeps come over, subscribe to me.
Absolutely, guys. If you look in the card above, you're going to see a link to Annie's channel, Antoinette Cancelliere. Cancelliere. Definitely subscribe to her. Why don't you talk to them a little bit about what you do on your channel? Plug yourself.
Well, first let me give a plug. Me and Dave Maggie will be streaming next week. If you know Dave, he'll be on the channel, and we're going to be talking about 50 of our greatest movies and comparing them to other lists.
And as much as I give him shit, Dave Maggot is awesome.
Yeah, he's great. I found that there are a plethora of just weird and stuff, bizarre. Thank you, Lisa. Bizarre shit on the internet. Whether it's music videos about baguettes or just weird videos people make, and I think and so each week I do 4 videos a week, and they're crazy, they're insane. You'll see me. I get angry a lot. I've tried to hang myself multiple times on camera for you people, and I don't know. I think I have a good time. And
You're
I think
funny.
as long as
I like the clapping.
Yeah, you like the clapping? Yeah.
Oh, what do you say?
What do I say? How's it going?
How's it going? It's not the end of the day, world. It's just the end of the day. I watch your shit.
I stole that from Pontypool, by the way.
I like that movie.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
Brandon wants to know if you're on Letterboxd.
No, I don't even know what that is.
Letterboxd is a website where you can log movies and do reviews and see what your friends are watching. It's really cool. I'm on that.
I like Zachary just summed up every time anyone asks me what my channel is. Like when I'm in person, they'll be like, "Oh, you're on YouTube?" Yeah, I don't know what I do. I don't even know. I don't know why I do it.
You react to fringe videos on the internet. That's what you do.
Yeah,
primarily.
I'm a commentary reaction channel, and we look at weird stuff. And if it's weird, if it's out there in the back, like what did I do? I just did hold on. Let me just. I did a video about Pillowgate. I just did a video, and Dave can on the Tiddlywinks World Championships of 2010. No joke. I did 10 minutes of this for some.
And I watched it. I watched it. Okay, you did a reaction to a guy reviewing a restroom at a state park.
That's not the first. I've seen like 3 or 4. I did a review of a guy reviewing sidewalks once.
Have you played Wargrove yet? Spliff wants to know.
Wargrove, what's that?
I don't know. Someone in the chat asked. Wargroove. I don't know. I don't know what it is. Anyway, so there's that. And then here on Horror Addicts, we're going to be having another stream next Saturday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And Nightmare Maven will be joining me, and
She's going to be.
She's amazing. We're going to be talking about witches in horror, so witchy women of horror. It's going to be a lot of fun. If you like Ghouls Night Out, we play games, we talk about stuff. It's what we do. And the Oscars are going to be February 24th. And I haven't made one for the Oscars, but I have a link in the card above to next week's stream, so you can click on that and set your reminder. Hopefully I'll see you guys all next week.
Yeah.
Your channel's a puzzle wrapped up in an enigma, says Michael Long.
It's something. I don't know what exactly it is.
He's a very important person in the townsfolk on Laura's channel.
Lisa's channel is the best. Lisa's Looney Bin is the best channel. Really,
I love how she likes to talk about Phantasm, because it's her favorite movie.
Phantasm's my favorite movie.
It's Laura's favorite.
I'll be you guys in a little bit, boo-boo.
But thank you guys all. Thank you, Dave Magid, Brandon Meacham, Christian Blanchard, Spliff, C4. We've had so many people here tonight. Zachary, E. Werewolf. Am I missing Jerks Productions? Everyone who watched today, thank you guys so much for just being an awesome chat. And thank you. I hope we see you next week, E. Werewolf. It's going to be fun because I'm pagan, she's pagan. It's going to be good. So, absolutely, thank you guys so much. You guys have been the best chat. This has been a really good discussion, and I'm just really happy with how it all turned out. And thank you, Annie, for joining me as my guest.
Oh, I hope I'm back soon, because every time we have fun, whether we're drinking or trying to talk about something serious, we always have fun.
Queenie Todd here, too. Yeah, Laura loves Phantasm. But thank you so much for joining me. I love talking to you. I love discussing these movies with you. Certainly gave me some things to think about. And I think it was just really fun to just dig into some horror movies, you know?
Yeah, no doubt.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no doubt.
Anything you want to say before we call it a night?
Not really. I think we covered it all. I've talked out. And, so... I had fun. I hope we do it again. I hope we come up next time with something more fun that we can just... Next time we're going to do something fun. As much as this has been an important discussion, and I'm really glad we did this, I'm really glad with how it turned out. I'm ready to just talk about something stupid next time. Yeah, me too. All right. This was wonderful. Thank you, guys. Remember to check those cards above, and we'll see you next week. All right. Bye-bye. Bye.